what do you mean though when you say it is Abrahamic?
In Abrahamic faiths, we say that if you read Bible, they say soul was wandering about above the water or something like that. But when you read Gita, it clearly says that Atma can never move. So I think both of them contradict
Atma
itself.
can never move? What do you mean the Atma can never move? Atma is situated in different bodies. Even
Atma is Achar. Achar. If you can show you Adhyay 2, verse 24 of Bhagavad Gita, it clearly says that Atma cannot move. Achar.
Atma,
I
Atma,
cannot translate the word achar in English, but it means like that, which cannot move, or we can say that it cannot pass from one body to another, like very very Christians do. I mean, concept of soul, that this soul came into his body like that. So the Atma concept is not like that. It's immortal. And
Sorry, Prabhu. I got kicked out. I left the meeting. So yeah, sir. I was saying to you that what did you mean? Yeah, what did you mean when you said that the spirit soul is Abrahamic in concept? What did you mean?
If you read Bible or if you read Quran, in Bible it says that in Utpatti means creation. The Bible says that a soul was wandering above the water, like that. I don't know the exact thing, but this is like that. And in Islam, it says a soul will go to heaven, have 72 hoods, and will have a perfect life in heaven, etc. But the soul concept is like that in Abrahamic religions. But in dharmic, as a dharmic believer, I think Atma is contradicts it. I mean, they both are different.
Where is contradiction? What is the difference? You say there is difference, so you must say what is difference.
Atma doesn't go. Atma doesn't go from one body to another. I mean to say, it can go, but not like we imagine it to be. And it doesn't go in hell, heaven, etc. And it is achar, unmovable. If you can please open Adhyay 2 verse 24, it can be clear from that, because I am
Bhagavad Gita verse 24, is it?
Chapter 2 verse 24.
Yes, chapter 2 verse 24. I am not able to translate the exact word, but you can.
Greg, can you get Prabhu 224, please?
Yeah. Oh, did you say host or just bring it up?
Just read the translation, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'll just bring it up.
224. Chapter
224. Yeah.
So, Karvin Singh, Prabhu, can I ask you a question? Are you soul or body?
I am Atma.
You're Atma.
As simple.
Yeah.
Okay. As simple as that. I can elaborate if you want what Atma is. Can I?
No. I am asking you. You're saying you're the soul, right?
No, I said I am Atma.
No, he does not agree that soul is Atma. He says Atma and soul are different. So he is saying
okay, you're Atma. Okay, you're Atma. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you describe.
What happened? We lost. I just lost your audio, Ronald.
Oh. Can you explain Atma according to Sanskrit language?
Okay, I can explain. If you can open or screen share WhatsApp group,
Yeah, if you
I
give me the
share.
host, Ronald, if you give me
Okay.
the host, I will share.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Where is Quick Prabhu, make host? All right. You get the
Hello.
host now. Yes, yes, we're listening. Yeah.
Okay, hang on a sec. I will just pull up this for you. This 220. You wanted to
Yes.
read 224, so I will share this now.
He doesn't like the Western words. Parveen Singh
Yeah,
Prabhu doesn't like Western
but we
terminology
can.
equivalent.
It's not like that I don't like Western world, etc. I'm just
No, I'm
saying.
saying words to describe the Atma.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
not Western world, Western word. You don't
okay,
like the word soul. You have disagreement. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so
That's
it
what
is
I.
sharing. You can see now. Ache yam udaya. Is it yam?
Yes, we can see, Prabhu.
So do you want me to read this or
no,
Achedya yam adaya adalaya yam akle. Can you see this, Peru? Ronald, do you want to read?
No, go ahead, Prabhu. I'm just listening to you because I got so many people here. I'm trying to manage the line here, so I'm listening.
Okay. So it's Achedya yam adya yam akildya sasyaivacha nitya sarvagata stanur achalayam sanatana. Achidaya means unbreakable. I am this soul. I am this soul. Adyata cannot be burned. I am this soul. Akeldya, insoluble. Asyasya, cannot be dried. Eva, certainly. Cha, and. Nitya, everlasting. Sarvagata, all pervading. Statam, unchangeable. That's the word Prabhu is looking for. Achla, immovable. I am this soul. Sanatana, eternally the same. So this is, can everyone still hear?
Yes, we're here. So does he agree?
So Prabhu was saying that this soul is statama, is it statama, unchangeable, achala, immovable?
Yeah. Can I reinstate my point?
Yes,
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yes, so I was saying that this verse is perfectly fine. I have no problem in that. And I have no problem with Prabhupada also. He had very good heart and he always tried to explain the soul as Atma. I have no problem in that. But the origin, but if soul and Atma both are the words meaning the same, then Krishna in Bhagavad Gita have also used the same. But as we see now, the soul is clearly an English word, which doesn't mean the same as instated in this verse. You can see that it is unmovable. But if we say soul or spirit, it is movable. I'm not criticizing Prabhupada for this because he didn't have intention to mismatch this. He didn't. He just wanted to explain the concept. I am okay with that. But this point contradicts itself. So you can.
Prabhu, are you saying that in the Abrahamic traditions the soul is created and changed, therefore changed? Like in the Abrahamic traditions, because the soul is some Christians believe the soul is created at a certain point. So that would mean the soul is changeable. It is the creation is a type of change. So
yeah, in
you're
Islamic
saying,
tradition, in Islamic traditions also, they bury the dead body. So they think that their soul will reach heaven after the day of judgment or Qayamat. So I'm saying that the concept of Atma is not like that. Just as quick as a person gets dead, he or I mean, we cannot determine the gender of Atma, but the Atma will acquire another body according to its karma. So the concept of Atma is entirely different and soul is entirely different. But I'm not criticizing Prabhupada that he used the soul word for his commentary. But a better word could be Atma. I am only saying.
Well, yeah, Sanskrit usually has more deeper meanings than English words. Like there's multiple meanings for words in Sanskrit, and they have deeper meanings. It is often the same with Abrahamic religion when they go into the older languages like the Greek and the Hebrew. The words have more meaning. Yeah, so that is always the case. But some Christians, I know this from speaking with them before. Some Christians believe that the soul always existed in the mind of God, always. Like before we were here, we existed with God. So that means that to some Christians, they believe the same, that the soul is eternal and is never created. Like some Christians have spoken to me like this, and that they believe this, that the soul was always with God.
But we are not here to discuss about some Christian or another. We can always discuss about Bible or the main idea. We can discuss about Quran. We can discuss about Bible. What they say, that will matter. How Christianity will be defined. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita defined it at this way, but a Bible define it in different way. So the contradiction happens here.
So what is the main problem? The word soul is not an equivalent word to Atma. Okay, if we accept that argument, what else do you have to say? Okay, we accept your argument now. We're saying that the Atma word and the soul word is not equivalent. Okay, what's next? Are you saying Prabhupada translate?
But Rama Prabhu, the soul is equivalent. It may be not as big of a meaning, but it is also equivalent because
he's not accepting that argument. So I want to hear more from his side.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He's not accepting that argument or the idea that the soul and Atma is the same thing. He's saying that the Atma word doesn't actually mean the soul. So what else do you have to say?
Well, he was saying that the soul, their meaning of the word soul is slightly different, but it still means the living entity inside the body. Is it not, Prabhu?
No, it is not like that. You have to.
We need to consider that the living entity is inside the body, or that the living entity takes on a body the way a person puts on a cloak or clothing.
Now, that's a point I want to throw some light on. You can, if you can screen share or give me right, I can share a photo where in Mandukya Upanishad, they say what Atma really means.
How do I find? What do you want me to find to share?
We don't really say Atma, we say Jiva, no?
Yeah.
But the discussion
Jiva
is
means part and parcel of God. It doesn't go further up, sideways, or down, or front or back from that. If the Jiva is part and parcel of God, then it doesn't matter what you call it, because Prabhupada says consciousness is the indicator of the soul, meaning the Jiva. The Jiva's consciousness of the Jiva is what is transferred through the lens improbable lens of the human body or animal body or plant body or insect body, that the soul projects, the jiva projects consciousness because the jiva is consciousness. Consciousness is the indicator of the soul, meaning jiva. Okay.
This is the problem, that we equate the concept of Atma and soul, because we are now trying to equate the word soul and Atma. This is my problem. Okay.
Well, what are we trying to do?
We should understand.
If the Atma is not the soul, then what is the Atma?
That's what I want to know.
I can share my screen and let you know what is Atma. Can I?
Sure. Give him permission,
Sure.
Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. Let me just change the permission on the. How do I do that?
Let's go for it.
Why don't you
Prabhu, I
share it?
wanted to ask something.
Okay,
Okay,
go
hang
ahead.
on a
Yes.
second. Where is Prabhu? Prabhu is Karnavit. So I'll just to make host or give permission. Which?
Give permission.
How do you do that?
I'll just make him a host.
You can
What
give
is
me
it?
permission to share the screen.
So do you need? Yeah. So make host, is it?
Just make him the host. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Then he'll have full rights.
So yeah, Prabhu, you're a host now, so you can share.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah, we can share. See you.
Well, let me see. One
This-
second.
This is from Mandukya Upanishad, verse number 7. Can you see it?
What is it from? So, could you say again the book?
Mandukya Upanishad, verse number 7.
Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya
How do you
Upanishad.
spell the first word? How do you spell first word?
Mandukya Upanishad. I can say that my pronunciation is not correct,
Oh,
but
okay.
it is pronounced like
What
that.
is the difference?
Okay. So it is the cessation of all phenomena. It is all
Yeah,
peace,
phenomena means material.
all
body.
bliss, and non-dual. This is what is known as the fourth Turiya. This is the self, Atman, and this has to be realized.
Yeah. So that
I
is
can
why
explain.
chanting Hare Krishna is how you become realized, because it separates the jiva or turiya from the body. As long as you can separate yourself from your body, because you're going to change bodies. When you leave this body, you'll take another body, another body, another body, another body. And you may be an ant body, or you may be a plant body. You may be a tree body or an insect body. That can be. So the question of body means we are being fooled by our own desire. We are fooled into thinking the body is ourself. And right now, we are sitting here in our bodies, calculating everything according to the body that we're in right now. But what if we die in 10 minutes and take another body, and in 20 years, we have another opinion because it's a different body?
Prabhu has asked a question in the chat. He said, Prabhu, Suryat, he has asked a question, and he has said, how is the soul immovable? Is it not that the soul moves from one body to another? But
Well,
the
no,
soul
it
moving,
doesn't. The soul doesn't go anywhere.
yeah, because the body is an illusion. So the Maya,
Exactly. So the body
it is
takes
Maya.
on. It's just like if you take LSD, you start having hallucinations. So the body is like the LSD of the body, of the soul. The soul is there fixed. The soul doesn't go anywhere. The soul is part and parcel of the supreme conscious living being namely the all-attractive source of life, Krishna. So because the soul is part and parcel of the all-attractive source of life, he doesn't go anywhere.
It is the same thing as if you put on one virtual reality helmet and you play a computer game. It looks like you are going many places, but your body is in the same place. So
Exactly.
it is the same. It is the same.
Exactly.
The soul is taking so many different bodies and playing so many different games, but
Yeah.
they are not moving anywhere. They're still in the shopping center playing the game. You know.
Yeah. But your example of video game is very excellent. If the body is so wonderful, why do we want a computer game to go into another even more, or we hope to be more wonderful state of consciousness in a computer game body instead of psychic or psychological body of the computer game? Why do we need to do that if the body that we're in is so wonderful that we should be saying, oh, this is wonderful, I should be here forever, I really like being in this body? Nobody likes being in their body. Eating, mating, sleeping, defending, who needs it? Who wants it? We always go after the dream. Oh, the beautiful woman. Oh, the bags of gold. Oh, this, oh, that. We want to project ourselves to have things that cannot be had. They cannot be owned by us because they are not substantial. Gold is not substantial. It may be a very substantial mineral or metal on earth, but when you compare it to the soul, gold comes and gold goes. It has nothing to do with reality. It's just a way of measuring illusion.
Another Prabhu has asked, Suryansh has asked, then what happens to the soul after the last rites of a person? So it is, if the computer game ends.
Or what about even before the last rites of the person? The minute that you are lying on the deathbed and your relatives are staring at you, oh, grandfather, please don't die, please don't go, we'll miss you. You're lying there realizing each breath could be your last one before the jiva leaves the body. And you're saying, what an illusion. All these people are looking at my body and wanting me to stay, but I cannot stay. I'm going to go and I'm not the body that's going. So they'll sit there weeping over the dead body. Meanwhile, I'll be taking another body of some sort. Maybe a human, maybe a dog, maybe a demigod. How do I know what I'll be taking? Depends on what I've been doing. But basically, anybody in Kali Yuga is not going to take another human birth once they die. Once the body is dead, they go down because they've done no dharma, no jagya or karma to become the same birth or a higher birth. Like they go to Las Vegas to gamble and they think, oh, I'm going to get rich gambling. But when they come home, they have less money than they had when they started out. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying on the average, because I've been to Las Vegas, they spend $4 billion on a hotel. So they spend $4 billion on a hotel. Somebody paid for that. And it was those people coming to make money that paid for the hotel by losing money. So that's what we're all doing. And we don't have a way of regaining our past lives, our past karma. Born in a nice family in India or in America or anywhere, you take that very nice birth. But what will guarantee that the man who was walking his dog today in the next birth will not become a dog and be walked by some human? How does he know? He has done nothing to prepare himself for his next birth. Nothing, less than nothing. He's degraded his present birth by utilizing, spending, wanting to go vacation, buy a private airplane, marry the beautiful woman, raise some nice children. These are all mammalian instinctive things to do. And the human being is no different. So what does he do? He has He has no way to regain the karma that he's spending. Karma is like a pocket full of money or a bag full of money. When you spend it, you have less money. End of story. Kali Yuga means you can't make more money. This Yuga, previous Yugas, you could do all sorts of jagya, you get Brahmins involved, and you can increase your good karma. That's what the Vedic culture was. The Varnashram Dharma was how to make money, meaning how to make good karma so that you will be on earth. Maybe you'll go to the moon. Maybe you'll go to Indraloka. We don't know where you're going to go, but you definitely don't want to take another birth on earth. But now on earth, the people cannot go up. They cannot even go sideways because every time they walk, they're killing insects, sinful deeds to do that. The Jains have a little broom to prevent that sin, but they don't use it because it's white and they don't want to get it dirty. But symbolically, but the people cannot go up because they don't have the karma to go up. The karma means your past pious deeds. Now, suppose if a person has a huge amount of pious deeds and they take birth as a multimillionaire on earth, well, maybe next time they'll get a job working in the factory that they owned in the next birth. Maybe they will get a human birth.
Yeah, there was another question asked in the chat, but we should probably go back to Karanvit first because he is Karanvit. Are you satisfied that this like the soul in the Abrahamic traditions, even if they are like if they are misdescribing the soul, it does not change what the soul actually is. Like both, whoever describes what is inside a person's heart, the living being inside the heart, whatever they are describing, they are always describing the same thing, even if someone makes a mistake, whether they describe in India as Atma or whether they describe in the West as a soul. So is there anything else you have to say about this?
Well, yes. There's only one simple thing. Prabhupada referred to these Western religions as poor fund of knowledge. They don't know. They really don't know, and they have no way to find out. Without the Brahma Samhita, without the Bhagavad Gita. Go ahead.
Yes, convincing, Prabhu. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was speaking that water, if flows from a mountain and flows from a mountain is it is termed as river, and if an ocean has a different meaning, I mean to say that they both have different meaning, and I am sticking to that point that soul and Atma are completely different. They doesn't mean the same.
Well, in the Vedas, do you know that in the Vedas, that it is described that the Atma is a tiny drop, like a tiny drop of an ocean, and then Krishna is like the whole ocean. So,
well, it's more than that because Krishna is not impersonal. The ocean is just a bunch of water. Krishna is a person.
Well, he is the whole ocean and more, but
he's a person that contains all the oceans. If you read the Bhagavad Gita and the part about the universal form, all those are contained within Krishna, even to the degree that when Mother Yasoda looks in Krishna's mouth, she sees the universal form, which is completely foreign to her relationship to Krishna. It's a frightening thing for her to see. So those are all the material things like that. It's not that, there was a Kriya Nanda used to sing, I am a drop, make me the sea. I am a drop, make me the sea. That's preposterous. You cannot become the sea. The sea is already the sea. The drop is part of the sea. The spark is part of the fire. We cannot try to equate these things and say, I will now become the fire if I'm a spark. It doesn't work that way. And in the Western religions, there's no process for self-realization, none whatsoever. Christianity depends on a manufactured notion of salvation that doesn't have any basis anywhere in Judeo-Christian. It has no basis at all. It is simply a Roman trick to get people to fall into line. Constantine. But I mean, what is the point? If you get the Bhagavad Gita and you have the Brahma Samhita, you don't need anything else to become self-realized.
Okay.
Because
so Karvin Singh, yes. Go ahead, Narayan Prabhu. Can you make your points in like 2 or 3 minutes, because people want to speak, and you go on for.
I made my point. Is there anything more to make?
Okay. Yes. So let Karvin Singh is not convinced about this point. So I think we'll have to let it go.
Well, we'd like to ask him what does he feel at this point after what he has heard.
Are we talking about what religion is he speaking from?
He's saying that the Abrahamic. I mean, let Karavit explain himself. He's saying that the soul in the Abrahamic tradition is different from the Atma. That the people in the West, they see the soul as a different thing. They see the soul as changeable, like the soul is created. I believe some Christians also pray that God can change their soul. Like rather than purify their soul, they believe the soul is actually changed when it becomes.
Correct, Prabhu. Let him speak. Let him speak. Then you can question.
Yeah, sure, please. Yeah, let Karanvit say what he needs to say.
What is the agent of change? What makes the change?
Karvin Singh, Prabhu, please explain. It's your turn, Prabhu. You speak.
Yes.
Okay. Can I explain? I want 5
minutes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I shared a screenshot amongst you. Did you read that? Or
yes,
I can
we read it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
speak.
in that slok, it is written that there is a state of body, like active state, where we can use our senses like ears, eyes, nose, etc. It is active state of our body. Okay. One is this state. Second state is when we sleep, deep sleep. Okay. When our subconscious mind work, but our body doesn't work. Okay. This is second type of state of body. So, and I don't remember how exactly we define the third state, but in that slok, it is written that we are the Atma, or the I means me, is the fourth state that observes all of this. Can you understand what I just said? That there are four states of states. So first state is when we use our senses. Second is when we are in sleep. Third, I didn't remember. Fourth one is what we call Atma. That the one which observes all these states is me. That is the explanation of Atma according to that slok. But
it is the same in the Christian. The Atma is the self, the me.
Are you taking into account the hierarchy of material qualities? Earth, fire, water, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. When you're sleeping, you're in the state of mind without the body. Earth, fire, water, air, ether, mind, intelligence. The body's made of earth, fire, water. Those elements create the body. And then intelligence means not divine intelligence, but just collective intelligence of great thought, but it's still material. Intelligence and ego. Ego is the sense of self, meaning what birth you have taken is ego. After ego is Brahman on the outside of the material universe. Outside the material universe is Brahman, and if you can manage not to be befuddled by Brahman, then you can chant Hare Krishna and go to Krishna Loka, or practice other practices and go to Vishnu in the spiritual world, depending on what you want.
I am saying that I am. If I say the word I means I am Atma, and Atma is immovable. It cannot go anywhere. It is there.
Exactly. Atma, Jiva, the Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi means I am the soul. So you're agreeing, right? That you are the soul.
Yeah, Karanvit is agreeing that the soul is the self, and he is saying it is immovable. So he is saying, like the Christians believe, the soul will go to heaven, but the soul, if the soul is immovable, he is saying it cannot go to heaven. But Karanvit, in our tradition, we believe that we originally existed with Krishna in the spiritual world, and the soul, even though the soul appears to be here, we never left the spiritual world. We are still in the spiritual world.
Oh, we're still part and parcel of Krishna. But
yes,
Krishna,
so we have not
Krishna
moved.
is obliging our desires. So Krishna obliges us. If we want to experience material life, he obliges us. And on top of it, he sends Paramatma into the heart of every jiva. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, the two birds inside the body, the Jiva and Paramatma, and Paramatma guides the Jiva to whatever he wants, whether it's good or bad. Paramatma will give that guidance to get what you want, because Krishna, we're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna will not tolerate to be not satisfied. So even though you're an infinitesimal part, he wants you to be satisfied. And if what your satisfaction involves is murder or crime, he'll show you how to do it, because he doesn't want you not to have what you want, because Krishna always has what he wants. So you can have that benefit of Paramatma in the heart, same with a plant or a tree. There's the tree in the root, there's the soul, Jiva, in the soul, root of the tree, and Paramatma is there helping the Jiva in the tree grow, suck up water, put out branches, bear fruits. And that's the way it is. But you get to choose what body you want based upon your dharma. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, Prabhu was kind of stuck on this thing of that the soul is never going to, that the soul is not movable. And that he was saying that because it is not movable, it proves that the Western concept of the soul is different. Like the soul in the Vedic
West
tradition
doesn't have a concept of the soul. I have asked born again Christians, is the soul created? They say yes. I said, but how can the soul be created and eternal at the same time? And they look at me funny with their eyes looking like fish eyes. And they say, well, we understand the soul to be eternal in one direction only. Once created by God, the soul is eternal in one direction only. I said, that doesn't work. That's not true. It cannot be true. Either it's eternal or it's not eternal. But the Christian, born again Christians at least, like to believe that the soul is created by God, breathing on they don't even know. If you look at the book of Genesis, breathing on dust, what is the breath of God? Is it a soul or is it just breath? And the dust, does it become the soul or does it become the body? You know, they don't go into that sort of detail.
Well, I wanted to ask Karanvit if he believes that Karanvit, do you believe that when the soul is immovable, the Atma, when the Atma is immovable and it is here, do you believe that it stays on earth, or it what happens to the Atma after it leaves if it is immovable to you?
It doesn't leaves or it doesn't enters. It always remains there. I am saying that.
So
yeah, but where is there?
where is there? Where is the Atma in your belief? Like if your Atma is here now, you're on earth. Where
I
where do
I
you believe it
explained you.
stays?
I
Yeah,
explained you that the fourth state, the observer that observing this material body, this
yeah,
fire, water, earth, is
yeah.
not Atma. And I mean, the observer is Atma.
Yes,
The
yes, the self.
the
Okay, so
observer,
where
the
does the
observer.
Atma or Jivatma reside eternally?
If it is immovable, where is it eternally staying? Because if it is not
Exactly.
movable, it must stay somewhere forever. So where is forever he's staying?
Yes. Good question.
It's staying everywhere. We say Atma is Sarva Vyapak. If you can again open the chapter 224 verse, it is also saying that it is everywhere.
You would have to
Like,
give me the host. If you give me the host for the meeting, I will open it again.
okay. Let me give.
Yeah, sure. So you see,
Prabhu,
if
you're
the
the host,
Atma is
correct, Prabhu?
everywhere,
You're the
if the
host,
Atma-
correct, Prabhu?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
the thing is, you say the soul is here, but there are innumerable planets, and they all have souls on them. Every jiva, every Indra is a jiva. All the demigods are jivas. All the people in hell are jivas. Everyone on earth is a jiva. So when you say here, do you mean in the material universe, or what do you mean by here?
mm. Yeah. This is a good question. This is where is the soul eternal? You see, he says it is everywhere. So does that mean it is in the spiritual and the material? If it is everywhere,
Let's say we are in space.
yes.
Okay, space is everywhere. I mean cosmos. If we are traveling in cosmos, it is everywhere, and it will always remain there. Our body is moving. I'm saying that.
Mm. But the Atma,
Well, you're saying remain
this
there,
is
but you
this
realize
is
there are not
material.
only innumerable planets in this universe where they could all be, or in between the planets, but there are innumerable universes. When the Mahavishnu breathes out, he breathes out innumerable universes, most of which are bigger than the one we're in right now. Ours has a Brahma. You can measure the universe size by how many heads Brahma has. So our Brahma has 4 heads. There are some described in Shastra. There are some universes where Brahma has hundreds or even thousands of heads. So that means the universe is gigantic compared to our universe, which the scientists are clueless about.
So I have shared the screen. Prabhu, what did you want to say about what is on verse 24 in relation to your question?
All pervading. Can you describe all pervading? Because I'm not an English speaker.
Yes, sure. I will describe. All pervading means it is everywhere. He is everlasting, all pervading, immovable, and eternally the same. The individual soul is all pervading. Yeah.
Okay.
So he is all pervading, but is the Jiva all pervading in relation to Krishna and Narayan? Like
that is
Krishna,
the jiva that we're talking, the soul.
Yeah.
The thing about we have to go to the phrase all pervading. All pervading means the jiva can go anywhere in the universe without limitation. All pervading means it can go here or there or everywhere.
Mm.
But the thing is, once the jiva's in material consciousness, he gets into cycle after cycle of material birth. But that doesn't mean he's not part of Krishna's body. The jiva is always part of Krishna's body, regardless of location.
But it is Krishna that is all pervading, really. Krishna is the one who is omniscient, all pervading.
Well, everything, he's more than all pervading because he's the source of everything. Therefore, everything is inside him.
Right.
Gita says, all things are in me as pearls are strung upon a thread. They are in me, but I am not in them. So when you say Krishna is all pervading, according to the Gita, he's not in anything. Everything is within him.
So
It makes life a lot simpler, doesn't it?
So God is omnipresent, but God is omnipresent. He is present everywhere. But our omnipresence.
Well, that's from our point of view, yeah. Present everywhere. But if you look at it from his point of view, he is just existing. Everything is part of him.
Okay. Well, but Prabhu is saying that because our soul is all pervading, therefore that means our soul does not move. It is always present in the material and the spiritual worlds.
Well, why not just simplify it? The soul is always inside of and part of Krishna's existence. Yes, the soul is not, Krishna is infinite, we know. The soul is the opposite, infinitesimal, infinitely small. Therefore, no matter how many jivas there may be, and there are plenty of them in the material universe, as well as the Krishna Loka or Vishnu Loka, no matter how many jivas there are, they are all inside of Krishna because they're infinitesimal, non-dimensional. So because the soul is non-dimensional, there's room for all of us. All of us. We're all part and parcel. We're all within Krishna. But we have chosen to hallucinate that we want to be in the material world. And because Krishna cannot stand for anything about it, Krishna cannot stand to be dissatisfied. So he gives us Paramatma to help us. He sends Paramatma to help us become satisfied in our preposterous material desires.
So to explain this to Prabhu, then, like when our all-pervading, like Prabhu, you at the moment you're in this world and you cannot go anywhere. You cannot go to any planet. You are limited, right? But if you were liberated in Krishna, if God had liberated you, your Atma would be liberated. It would be all pervading because it is related to Krishna and it is liberated with Krishna.
So you could go anywhere. Now the Jiva is infinitesimal. It isn't all anything. It's not all pervading. The fact is that when you take birth, you're part and parcel of Krishna. You never leave Krishna's form. You're always part and parcel of Krishna's form. But your hallucination is that you've taken a body on planet Earth. And then you lose that body, and then you take a hallucination that you become a tree or a maggot eating dead flesh. That doesn't matter as long as it's what you want. And Paramatma will facilitate what you want. If you want to be a bee and sting people, well, Paramatma will facilitate it. Whatever you want, Paramatma will facilitate, because Krishna cannot stand to be dissatisfied. And so he gives you a means of becoming preposterously satisfied by doing things that are completely an illusion, because that's what you want.
So Prabhu, but Narayan, if you were once you're like liberated from the material gunas, Krishna can send you anywhere. It is like Narada Muni. He is allowed to go anywhere. He can travel anywhere in the universe. He can go to the spiritual world.
No, it doesn't work like that. If you're completely liberated, what does that mean? Liberated as an impersonal energy? Liberated into the Brahman? Liberated? No, everybody that dies takes a body, unless they become a pure devotee, in which they regain their spiritual body in a rasa with Krishna in the spiritual world. So either we're reborn in the material world or we ascend to the spiritual world if we have attained a loving reciprocal relationship with the supreme source of life, namely Krishna. Reciprocal means he doesn't create it, you create it. and then he reciprocates with you, and then you reciprocate with him. Then you can gradually become from the Madhyam Adhikari to the Uttama Adhikari, which means pure devotee of the Lord in Krishna Loka. Then, if you like, or if Krishna likes, or the two of you like together, you can descend down the way Prabhupada did and become a deliverer of all the fallen souls for the remainder of the golden age of Kali. It's a simple thing. It's not complicated, and it's definitely not mechanical or mechanistic. It's desire.
I can explain the concept of spiritual and material world by example. Should I?
Please do.
Go ahead.
Okay. So once my teacher told me that let's suppose there is water. There is water, and above it is air. Let's suppose the air thing is spiritual world, and water thing is material world. And let's suppose we take a balloon with air filled in it, just like Atma filled in a body, and we take this balloon and uh, drown it in sea. Water. Then it always wanted to liberate itself and uh, go to liberate itself and attain moksha, or we can say attain Paramatma. Can you understand?
What exactly are you saying? The Atma or Jiva, the soul, is part and parcel of Krishna, and either he's an illusion and wants a body, or he's pure and he wants to deliver others by chanting from their body to become once again residents of the kingdom of God. That's really the only two things that Jiva can do. Either take more bodies or deliver people from taking more bodies.
When you say Jivatma, I am talking about that balloon that has Atma in it, but has Jiv, which has body too.
What is the difference between Atma and Jiva?
The state where Atma sees itself that it has some material body. I call this state as a Jivatma. When it realizes that it is not this body, then I say it is Atma.
Well, how does he do that?
There are various methods, like knowing your own self, knowing what is Atma. If you can know that, you will try to liberate.
But if you understand your own self, in what bodily shape do you see your own self?
When we see Atma, Jivatma is basically Atma in a Jiv. Jiv means material, like what my body is made up of.
Is eternal part and parcel of God. Jivatma means eternally part and parcel of God.
Even
in other words, Jivatma is our original status before we desired. Could I ask you, how did you get a material body to begin with? How did you get your present material body?
Through my karma.
And how did you get karma?
Just like I said with an example, that material, the water controls the motion of Jivatma. If it is in like balloon,
but how did you get the karma? You said you got the body according to your karma. That means means Jivatma. How did you, the soul, get the karma to have the body you're in right now? Where did the karma come from?
I don't know it, honestly. You can explain.
If you believe karma, then you have to believe that karma can be created, it can be increased or decreased It can be elevated or sunken down through karma. Karma means pious deeds that get you a higher birth. Vikarma means sinful deeds that take you to a lower birth. And akarma means pure devotee, transcendental. That was the dilemma of Adam and Eve. They were not supposed to eat of the fruit of knowledge of good, which is karma, or evil, which is vikarma. So they must have been in akarma, or in the kingdom of God.
Prabhu, it'd be good to explain to Prabhu that Jivatma is like the spark, and Paramatma, or all the parts of Krishna, are like the fire. Like Paramatma, the supreme soul, God, is like the fire, and Jivatma is like Vishnu. The spark.
Krishna, with two-handed form, living in Krishna Loka. The minute we have some desire to leave, to act in Krishna Loka as though we are the recipient of worship rather than the bestower of worship on Krishna, then we have to take a material body to carry out that fantasy. And Krishna doesn't let us go off by ourselves. He sends Paramatma to make it happen for us. So Paramatma is a Vishnu form, even in the heart of every center of every atom, in the heart of every living being. Paramatma means supreme soul, and he is accompanying us birth after birth, regardless of species. Okay. He does that in order to give us what we want, even though what we want is not very nice. Does it make sense?
So, Prabhu, does this make sense to you, Karanvit? Do you still have question about the soul in relation to the Atma?
Well, the soul is the Atma, or the Atma is the soul.
We are trying to explain, even if the Westerners do not understand, it is still the fact.
How can it be separate? How can the Atma be separate from the soul? The soul is called Jiva, and in our Shastra it says Jiva Atma, meaning the soul is the eternal part and parcel of God. So how can you change that? You're never going to be more or less than infinitesimal part and parcel of God. When you become self-realized, you become regained either into the planets of Vishnu or Krishna Loka.
What I was trying to explain to Prabhu, Karanvit, that the Atma and Jivatma are the same thing. The word Jiva is only used to explain what type of Atma. So Jivatma means little Atma, and the definitions of God's Atma mean big Atma.
Oh, what's the big Atma? Can you describe who is the big Atma?
Krishna is the big Atma. Is there other word other than Paramatma? There's
that's why he's known as Param Atma.
Param, supreme.
Atma.
Yeah, so supreme. So you have Param means supreme, and then what is the definition of Jiva? It means infinitesimal, or
infinitesimal, yes.
Yeah, infinitesimal. So infinitesimal means very small, little, and then Param, supreme, means big.
Infinitely small.
Infinitely small, and then biggest. It's not actually big, it's biggest. Yeah. So
we cannot become Paramatma.
No,
ever.
But Karanvit, do you understand now that this is what is meant by Jiva? Atma is not different to Jiva. Jiva is simply a description of your kind of Atma, which means little, because you are not God, you are little, you know?
Infinitesimally little.
I object on that.
Immeasurably small. You see, if all the jivas of which there are gazillions, there's no way to measure
I think
how many there are.
I think he said I object to that.
What is your objection?
Okay, so I'm saying that. So my first question was entirely that the soul and Atma are completely different concept. If you are saying, uh, just like I said, the Jivatma is just a state. It is not Atma. But you are
Okay,
saying the
Jivatma is one Atma, Param Atma is another Atma. How do you distinguish between them?
because Jivatma is not reality, but Atma is the reality.
Oh no, no, no.
Why
We were
why
saying,
is being part and parcel of Krishna not reality?
yeah, no,
It's a,
he is saying Jivatma is only in the material world. He's saying only in the material world are we known as Jivatma when we are conditioned. But in the Vedic literature, Jivatma is also in the spiritual world. You're also Jivatma, even when you're eternally with Krishna and you're liberated.
Yeah,
So
because
Jivatma does not mean material. Like,
in the kingdom of God, all the residents in Krishna Loka are not simply bags of emptiness. They are beings.
I'm
And
saying
their
that
beings, their infinitesimal being, can relate to Krishna one-on-one as though the same size. But even though they look the same size, like two cowherd boys playing in the fields of Vrindavan, Krishna and the cowherd boy is infinitesimal Jiva, and Paramatma and Krishna is the supreme being, which means that the cowherd boy is part and parcel. But because Krishna is a loving person that likes to have fun, he plays with this Jiva as his best friend.
So Karan,
I'm saying that if Atma is an observer, okay, so if it observes that it is in the body or the material world, it is called Jivatma. When it is observing that the Atma is living entity, it will, let's say,
yes,
a Jivatma
but
lives for
what is
50
this?
years.
By what senses does the Atma observe? How does the Atma observe? And what is the Atma then? What is the substance of the Atma? The origin and substance of the Atma, what is it? Huh?
Atma is just the supreme state. I mean, I quoted Mandukya Upanishad. Probably
is it Jivatma or Paramatma?
Jivatma is different thing and Paramatma is different thing. I'm just saying that.
Okay. So how do you distinguish between those two Atmas?
The reality is Atma is Atma and Jivatma is when Atma observes itself as a Jiv. I mean, it.
Oh, so you're saying that the spiritual nature is all one. Are you saying that Atma is all one?
Can I complete?
Yes, of course.
Let's say that I quoted chapter 224 verse. It says that Atma is eternal. So
what's wrong with that?
So one fact is this, that Atma is eternal. But when we say the Atma observes itself as a Jiv, or we can say it as Jivatma, then it is not eternal.
So
like Jivatma remains.
Are you saying that there's only one Atma and Krishna's that Atma, the Jiva's that Atma, and there is no distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma or Krishna? That is all one big impersonal soul energy?
Do you agree Atma is eternal?
I believe that each Atma is eternal.
No, Jivatma is not eternal.
Yeah, this is the disagreement.
How do you know?
The disagreement, Prabhu, is that we believe in the Vedic literature it says that that in the spiritual world, all of the eternal people who are with God, they are all known as Jivatma. There's many examples where in the Vedas it says everybody in the spiritual world is known as Jivatma. They are known by this term.
So are you trying to just average it all out so that God is just an energy and the Krishna takes one form and the Jiva takes the other form?
I am not saying it to be another form. I am saying
what is the origin, what is the source of Jiva?
Paramatma, obviously.
No, Krishna.
Okay, you can say that.
I'm saying that.
Okay.
Krishna, all the infinitesimal parts and parcels of Krishna are within Krishna's form. Is that comprehensible? Can you comprehend that?
Yeah.
Can you see the
if Krishna is infinite, then why can he not have infinitesimal individual identities within himself, who are his liberated playmates and friends in Krishna Loka, and who are off on their own in the material world, universes?
There's I've shared on the screen one definition of Jivatma, and it says what is the definition. It says Atma, there is Paramatma and Jivatma. Both are Atma because they are spiritual, but the living entities are called Jivatma. Jivatma means the small particle of Atma, which has tendency to fall down into the material atmosphere. He is called Jivatma.
But let's say I am a Jivatma, then I am not eternal. I will have to die. The Jivatma is a living entity. If it is, it needs to be die, then it cannot be Atma, because Atma is eternal. It never born or never die. But Jivatma will born and die. I'm saying
they're saying here that Jivatma is spiritual. Like Jivatma is the nature of Jiva is that it is spiritual. So,
but
yeah, the Jivatma is as spiritual as Krishna or as Paramatma.
And spiritual means eternal.
The Jiva is an individual eternally. He can reside as an individual in the kingdom of God, Krishna Loka, or he can take different births in the material world. That is entirely up to him, free will.
Okay, so you are saying that Jiva means living, or you mean Jiva means life?
Yes. Like, and living Jiva also means eternal.
Living, Jiva is infinitesimal living being, not life in general, just living being. Infinitesimal means without dimension.
I have shared on the screen another definition. It says the Jivatma, the living entity, is eternally servitor of Krishna. And one should understand the nature of his master so that his service attitude, his affection may be more intimate. So Jiva, like the body is dead, but the Jivatma is eternally living. And
yes,
everything in the material world is dead. So yeah, Jivatma means living, because everything else is dead.
Each ant is a different Jivatma. Each ant, if you see them going along in a big group of 100,000 ants trotting along on the ground, each ant is an individual part and parcel of Krishna called Jivatma, with a completely different destiny than the other ants. An individual destiny.
Tell Prabhu that when the ant gets a human body in his next life, and then when he becomes a saint and goes back to God, he is still Jivatma. The same ant is still Jivatma.
Oh no, the ant is just a body, but the same Jiva that was in the ant can progress up through evolution, not like Darwin, but evolution from species to species, birth after birth, until he comes to human. And if he is intelligent and comes across Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, then he can go back to Godhead.
But I'm
As a
saying
Jiva.
that the Jivatma is called a Jivatma just for his life. When it get moksha or get liberated, we will say it as Atma, not Jivatma. My point is that.
Well, Atma,
Where is the evidence in the Vedas that says? Where is the evidence in the Vedas that says that when the soul is liberated, it is no longer Jiva and it is only Atma?
yes, where is that?
Where is evidence? Because we will show you evidence that said from Prabhupada and from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We will show you from the Puranas. We can
But
show you
that is
evidence.
the concept, that is the whole concept of moksha, that we understand who I am and get liberated from this material nature and all.
Okay, so once you're liberated from material nature, where do you go?
I don't go anywhere because I am Atma and Atma is unmovable.
So what do you mean you don't go anywhere? Right now you're in the material world. You become Atma. Where does the Atma go? What does the Atma belong to?
Atma doesn't go everywhere. It's just Jivatma is trapped in material nature. So it is struggling to get moksha. It will do karma, and it will do dharma and do a karma according to dharma and will attain the state of Atma. Jivatma.
Okay. So once you attain, so you meaning that once he becomes Atma, he actually becomes God?
No, I can't say that.
And distinguish between the Jiva becoming Atma and the Jiva becoming God, because Paramatma is God.
Yeah, I agree.
Paramatma is Krishna, the source of everything.
I can say I am a water droplet and as a Jivatma. If I become a river, I may say I am become Atma, but he is ocean. I mean,
Yeah,
no, that is.
Yeah, this is Mayavad. This is Mayavad.
Yeah, it's impersonalism. It's
yeah,
not
it is Mayavad. He is saying he is losing the condition of Jiva and then becoming more than
saying
Jiva.
The Jiva can merge into Atma like a river, a drop merging into a river.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the drop and you look at it atomically, you'll see that the drop never merges with the river. It accompanies other drops in the same river. As an individual, the drop never becomes a river.
I am saying it's just an example. I used it as an example.
Well, if you're going to use an example, why not use one that works? You can't say that the drop becomes the river because the drop is independently molecularly constructed, and so is the river composed out of many such molecular constructions. So if
the smallest water will always remain the smallest water drop. The smallest water drop will always be the smallest water drop, no matter how many oceans you put it in.
You could turn it into an infinite number of drops.
Until you get to the smallest.
The example is not very intelligent example. It's preposterous, in fact.
Yeah, sorry for that example. I think I have done that mistake. Okay, I can't explain.
I understand what you're trying to say because I've heard it from yogis before I became a devotee of Krishna.
But
the ultimate goal, the impersonalist view is that the soul merges with the Supreme Being and becomes indistinguishable from the Supreme Being.
Just as you can see the 28th point, the Prabhu is sharing screen. You can
that is
see
preposterously not true.
Well, yeah, what is on the shared screen though? What is on the shared screen? Because like we are saying that the Jivatma is an individual personal, and that individual person has their personal relationship with Krishna. Even when the water drop merges back into the ocean, it still has a personal relationship with the ocean, because the ocean is a person and the water drop is a person, and they always remain separate, so they can have a loving personal relationship together. So,
and the ocean would not be the ocean without a huge number of individual drops.
And they are all having personal relationships, Prabhu. So do you accept that this is possibility, that personal relationships exist forever, Prabhu? This is what we are asking you. Do you accept that personal relationships, personal loving relationships between everybody exist forever? Do you accept?
Yeah, as an Atma exists.
Yes.
Well,
so
you
so
keep
you
on
will
going to Atma as being the result of merging with the Atma, but that's not reality. What teacher taught you all of this? Who is your teacher? Who is your guru?
I don't have a personal guru. I just have read.
But you've read things, obviously.
Yeah.
So who taught you all of this stuff that goes completely contrary to the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita?
It's not completely contrary. It can mean that
the conclusion, Siddhanta, you can have all those different ingredients, but if you come up with different meanings than the Gita does for what those ingredients are, then it does contradict. But let me ask you, what books have you read, or what teachers have you listened to that have taught you these things?
Jay Dalal Goenka, he wrote Tattva Vivechani Gita. I read them.
Are you in India?
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that in America, California, where I am, I could name a dozen teachers who teach exactly what you're saying. It's not as though it's a strange or new concept, not even slightly. Dozens of teachers. Why? Because they want everyone to believe they can become God. And I think that's basically your view also. If you can give up your material sense of existence, then you can become God. Well, you can't. So let's leave it at that. God is individual, and he is not, you can't become him.
My concept is I can unite with God. I cannot become God. I'm saying that just Jiva.
Well, you're saying you can, if you unite with God, then what do you become? Do you retain your individuality as a Jiva, or do you merge into God's energy as supreme energy? Do you merge into it, or do you retain your individuality throughout eternity in the liberated state? Whether you're in the material consciousness or the spiritual consciousness, do you ever merge with God, or do you retain your individuality? That's the only point there is.
If we say and discuss about Atma, it doesn't feel like it is talking about individuality. Because
do you become God? Do you become God? Do you become equal to God? Are you merged into God? You want to be a drop in a river? Well, what does that make you?
Without individuality.
Does it make you, if you merge into a river, does that mean that you become indistinguishable part of a river? That you cannot say where you begin and the river ends. What? Is that what you believe?
Can you pardon?
Do you believe that if you are a drop and you merge into the river, that you cease to exist as a drop, and that you have become part of the river?
I'm saying that Jivatma is in state, like Atma is observing itself as in material, entrapped in material.
That you're not answering my question though. And my question is a very basic one. Whatever it is you are believing, or I don't know what you believe, but whatever you're expressing is something which I have dealt with decades and decades and decades and decades ago. And I have resolved it all. I dealt with all of this stuff in the early 1960s. You see? So
Okay,
it's not as though that what you're telling me is unusual. In fact, it's very old-fashioned. Practically speaking, no one believes what you believe anymore.
Okay.
Because they've gone beyond it. They've understood the miraculous relationship of God being a person, not an energy, not formless, but with form, and that we can have a relationship with God, not just merge into what we perceive to be God and then do nothing. I mean, the minute Vaishnavism, the minute Lord Chaitanya began his mission, all the things that you're saying became obsolete. And that was 500 years ago. They were absolutely obsolete before 500 years ago, but decisively obsolete 500 years ago. You have to consider God is a person. We are persons. We're part and parcel of God. And we're always going to be part and parcel of God as persons. Doesn't that sound delightful? Wouldn't you rather be an active part of God than merge into some Atma energy? And what's the bad part? We're offering you a king's throne, and you keep on insisting on a beggar's wagon. So I don't understand why. Why do you want to sink below what we're offering you when what we're offering you is sublime and happens to be the reality described in the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Upanishad? All of these things are already well established, and listening to what you're saying is like, for me, going back to the 1950s, where people didn't know any better. But you sound intelligent, so why not embrace the fact that God is a person and you are a person, that you're part of that person, but you don't merge with that person, you remain an individual in the presence of that person. Is there a bad part to that? What's the bad part?
But I don't have that question, and I didn't said
what
to debate on this.
What's the bad part? What's the bad part?
Nothing.
I know, but why do you think there's a bad part?
My question was completely easy. I was just asking that we shouldn't call Atma as soul. As simple as that.
The Atma, Jivatma, there's different types of Atma. Jivatma, Paramatma.
No, I don't
Jivatma
agree.
is individual soul. Paramatma is supreme soul, being Krishna. But you've got it all tangled up where if you go for the Jivatma, if you go for the Jiva, that the Paramatma, that you, then the Jivatma is supposed to merge into the Paramatma and cease to exist as an individual. And I would like to ask you, what is the advantage of that?
No, you are saying the things right. I don't disagree that. But
Well,
I'm
thank you.
saying
Not
we
disagreeing with the Supreme Absolute Truth puts you in a good spot.
I am just saying we shouldn't call it soul, because soul has different meaning and Atma is described differently. My whole point was that from the start.
Well, to you, what does soul mean?
For me, soul is an English word, and soul has definitions which contradicts with the definition that Krishna gave in Bhagavad
But
Gita
soul,
of
the word
Atma.
soul is not a Sanskrit term.
Yeah,
It's a translation of a concept known to the West.
but the translation is wrong. I am just objecting on that. That soul, eh, if we see it as an English word, is its definition is
Well,
completely
soul means spiritual,
no.
or whatever
doesn't
you want
mean-
to call the soul, or however you want to refer to the soul. The fact that the soul, if you want to use that word, or even if you don't, is
My
individual,
point is we should use the word that Krishna used. I
which
mean,
is
we should, which is Atma.
Jivatma.
Okay, Jiva Atma, Atma, Paramatma. We can say Jiva Atma.
Jivatma is different than Paramatma.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Okay, but I tend to think that you will believe that it's all one.
But the definition of the soul here on Google from the dictionary is the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal regarded as immortal. So that is even in the
that is
Western.
not an complete definition, because Atma, if we describe Atma, it is immovable too. But see, the soul doesn't have immovable as in word in its definition,
What do you
right?
mean by immovable?
Immovable is immortal is also immovable because you cannot take it away, like you cannot kill it.
The soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna moves and the soul can move, the jiva can move.
But as I said, chapter 2, verse 24, it is immovable. Atma is immovable, eternal also. I, I am agreeing on that. It is eternal also, but it is
There is,
immovable also.
yeah,
If,
Prabhu,
if,
he is saying,
if
Narayana Prabhu, he is saying from this verse we read from the Bhagavad Gita, it says that the individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, and can neither be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
so my question is that the soul has
So
just
why
the
is the soul,
just
why is the jiva immovable? It's because the soul is part and parcel of somebody. And the somebody happens to be named Krishna, who is
soul
the
lacks
source of
definition.
all life,
I
including
am
the
saying
soul.
the word soul lacks the definition. The word soul just is, we say, the synonym to immortal, but the concept of Atma holds different meanings too. Like we can see in that
What are
verse.
we're just haggling over a term? Why? I thought we were dealing with the meaning of the term.
Yeah, even the Webster definition says the immaterial essence, animating principle, or actual cause of an individual life.
Yeah. Well, then that is in agreement with the Shastra.
Yeah, so the Webster definition of soul is very, very similar. I mean, maybe there's a little difference, but it is.
Well, the problem is that Western religion doesn't have the slightest idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it says the spiritual principle. It says it is the spiritual principle embodied in human beings. So spirit means the eternal part. It is the eternal part.
Not just human beings. How about plants and jiva, animals and trees?
Yeah, it says in human beings, all rational and spiritual beings, or the universe. So.
Well, they say, but that's because the Catholic Church used to accept that the animals had souls or were souls. And later on, they changed it because it became a problem for slaughtering the animals. I think it was in the 6th century.
I'm saying if Krishna had to tell that the Atma is just immortal, then he would have completed the shlok just saying that it was immortal. But he continues and says that it is immortal and it is immovable and etc. So I think the soul,
the Jiva cannot be touched by material energy. Therefore, I mean, what would move? What could move the Jiva if it were movable? What would be the force that could move the Jiva? Do you have any idea?
material.
The Paramatma.
What if the Jiva could be moved? What would be the force that could move it? Would you say?
Jiva can be, can be moved by material nature.
Nope.
No?
The Jiva cannot be moved by anything. The body can be moved by material nature. But the Jiva cannot be moved. It's immovable. You said so yourself. The Jiva is part and parcel of Krishna, a person. The Jiva is a person that is part and parcel of another person, the Supreme Being, and therefore it cannot be moved from that category. What can occur is that the Jiva.
So I was saying that the soul is just immortal and the Atma is immortal as well as immovable as well as etc. So the soul is just a small truth. We should not tell the small truth to the world. Like we should not use the word soul because it doesn't define the idea as it should be. What do you think about that?
The soul, spirit soul, is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul named Krishna. Therefore, since Krishna cannot be moved, the soul cannot be moved. What could be simpler than that?
You are saying it right. I agree on that. I am just saying it is a false equivalence that soul and Atma are same. And you are doing false equivalence.
It is not false equivalence, because it is like if a man has a car, right? And one man, they are describing a car in one way and they are leaving out some of the details, but somebody else has a book that describes in very great detail all of the features on the new car. So because the Vedas are describing in more detail, it does not mean that they're describing a different thing. Simply, they have left out some of the details, that is all. But it is the same car, it is the same soul, it is the same Atma.
And it presupposes that you, by the time you've read that you already know about the Atma and its previous descriptions, because this is a more advanced teaching, and you don't have to go back to ABCs in order to read adult literature.
But describing it as just an immortal thing will not do good. Like we described immortal soul as immortal. So,
well, are you saying the soul is not immortal?
I'm saying soul is immortal, but the full definition is necessary. Like we
not necessarily, because the complete definition should have been learned in grammar school, not in college. You should already know that. You should already know that. You're arguing that we should go back to second grade school to learn something, but we're talking from the college level.
Let's say
why do we have to go back to learn primitive understanding when we're trying to encounter advanced understanding?
let's say we are saying soul is immortal, okay? So the Christians
So
also
what's the
believe.
big deal? Of course the soul is immortal. Even the Christians believe it.
But it is half definition. So half knowledge is worse than the,
No,
I mean,
no, but when Narayan is talking about, when he uses the word soul and when Prabhupada uses the word soul, they mean in their mind, they mean Atma. So
yeah,
like
yeah,
when you are speaking to
yeah,
us and we say soul, we mean Atma, we mean the full definition. So
Jiva.
yeah, so we
yeah,
mean the full definition of Jivatma, the soul, or Paramatma if we are talking about that soul. But when we use the word soul, if I use or Narayan uses or Prabhupada uses, it is going to be the same. So it does not matter if someone else has a faulty definition. The problem was in the group you were having some is it there was some difficulty in the group because someone was using the word soul and you said, okay, better not to use the word soul.
yeah, because it originates from the Abrahamic faith, and whenever you need to differentiate between dharma and Abrahamic, right?
But
Because they also believe in soul, and they originated this word, the soul, and we can
Well,
say that
but it does not
Bible.
matter if you are trying to fix something in your house, and let us say that that you get a hammer and the hammer comes from someone who is a different religion. You cannot say, oh well, I cannot use it to fix my house because comes from somebody else. No, you can use it. It is a tool, so you can use, anyone
Yes,
can use it. You know, just because you're a
yes,
different religion, you cannot say, oh, it is a hammer from the Mohammedan, so I cannot use the hammer in my house to fix my carpentry. You know, this is not
I
the
agree
case.
on that.
So
If we can also
you
accept
will
soul
use
as
it
an
differently. You know, you will use it differently. You will use it in a different way. Like he may be more expert with a hammer, so he can use it in many different ways, give it a better definition, you know, but it is still a tool, so anybody can use. This is why it should not be a problem if you hear the word soul.
because
unless
qualities of soul.
unless your goal is to prove that the individual merges with the absolute. If your goal is to prove that, then you're not going to get anywhere in the realm of advanced theology.
No. My entirely my point was just that we cannot use the word soul as an synonym for Atma,
Why not?
because it is not a full definition.
What is the full definition?
The full definition is of Atma. Soul is just a small definition, just describe the small part of it, but not the whole part of it. So people
No,
can
that's
be
not true.
misdirected.
Who told you
People
that?
can be people can be
Whoever told you
misdirected.
that, whoever told you that was as blind as a bat.
Like we say somebody that
Who's
the
your
soul is,
teacher? Who taught you that?
I
You
can
didn't
read
create
books.
it. What literature told you that the jiva and the soul are different? Where did you read that? Who taught it to you? You have a guru?
No,
Then
But
where did you learn all this stuff?
you
Did you read books?
yeah,
Okay, if you read books, who wrote the books?
a person.
Huh?
Which book you're talking about? I mean, spiritual books that I read.
Who wrote the books that made you say that the jiva is not the same as Atma? Where is that written somewhere? You know, who wrote the book?
No,
And otherwise, are you really just trying to waste our time bringing up points that cannot be proven?
but my question is not proving Jivatma and Atma. My question is, we should not tell the word soul. We should not use the word soul for an Atma. Simple.
And who taught you that? What book? What teacher taught you that? You see, you've read a lot of books, but
Yeah,
you don't want to reveal your source because you know that we will probably not accept your teacher.
No, I can reveal. Okay, you can search on YouTube Rajiv Malhotra.
Well, it's possible you learned all this in a previous life, but all I can say is that in this lifetime, you had better have an authority before you say something. We want to know who is your authority.
My authority is Rajiv Malhotra ji. He wrote a book which is called. The book is named by Rajiv Malhotra.
And who is this person?
He's an Indian and he wrote a book, Sanskrit Non-Translatables. That means if we use some other word for word that are used in Sanskrit, it will just not good for humanity.
And what
did he write?
How are you convinced that he's not mistaken?
Because as we say to many people in West that we are das. So many people describe das as a slave, but in Sanskrit, the das means devotee. So
no, das means servant. Das
not a slave.
Servant.
Not a slave.
Not slave or not devotee. It is not slave and not devotee. It is servant.
Okay, I agree. But here
I would commend why instead of debating some obscure teacher's ideas right now, why not get a copy of Prabhupada's books and read them all and then come back and tell us what you think now? Because otherwise we're not debating. We're not debating with you. We're debating over a guy that wrote a book that we never heard of.
But
so why either bring him on into the conversation, your teacher, or read Prabhupada's books, and we'll discuss from there.
One of the main points was that Prabhu, it was the practicality of using the word soul. Like, it is a practical thing. You are speaking English, and the English may not be as good as the Sanskrit, but you use so many other words. And you could say we should not use these words also because they are not very descriptive compared to Sanskrit. So you could say, why use English at all? And the reason we use English is most of us don't speak fluent Sanskrit. So even you will decide to use, you will go to somewhere and someone does not speak Hindi or Bengali. So you will have to speak to them in English. You will have to use the word soul because they don't know anything else. If you meet somebody, you do the best you can. Prabhupada used to say, best use of a bad bargain. So wherever you go, you speak with whatever words the people will be able to understand you, where they will be able to figure out what you are saying.
Okay.
You do the best you can.
But we can make the best better. We can convert the best into better. Yes? Right?
Yes, but a bigger point is, why are you hiding the fact that you believe that everything is merged at the end and that Krishna is not an individual person? I mean, you're just leading us around in a circle. We're trying to give you credibility, but you're not confessing what you have confessed, that this Jiva, or the individual soul, and Paramatma are actually just one, and that Krishna is no doubt part of the Atma structure rather than the source of it.
Okay, I confess that.
Those are the real points, and the other points are just fiddle faddle.
Okay, I think we should come to an end now. We have Gopinath Prabhu. We're going to shift conversations now because I think we've discussed enough with.
Because Gopinath Prabhu is muted though. Gopinath
Prabhu, please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Your microphone is muted, Gopinath, so perhaps you could click to unmute yourself.
Yes, I am here.
Hare Krishna.
Try, Gopinath.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Hare Krishna. Gopinath, perhaps you could introduce yourself. Well, I can introduce you. This is Gopinath. He's from Texas, and He's been a disciple of Prabhupada for, I think it's, what is it, 5 months, 6 months now, Gopinath? Although you were following for years before, is it not?
Yes, I've been following Krishna for 8 years.
8 years, okay. And then took initiation a few months back, was it?
Correct.
Cool, okay, Jai.
From whom? Initiation from whom?
Naranarayan is asking from whom, Gopinath?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, sorry, Naranarayan was asking whom you took initiation from.
I don't know if I've really been initiated or not. I don't feel like I've been initiated in my heart.
Yeah.
Why are we having these strange conversations?
Well, you can.
Narayan Prabhu, you have to understand that Gopinath Prabhu is trying to understand the philosophy. He's very new to the philosophy and is looking for the right association to get him on the right track.
But if he said he was initiated, he must have a sense who he was initiated by.
Or he was initiated by ISKM and Sundar Gopal.
I don't know who they are.
And I stopped following ISKM. It was, I didn't feel like it was a sincere organization, and I just kind of drifted away. I've been looking for association for ever since I left ISKCON.
Well, if you're looking for association, you've come to the right place, because we don't care about, I mean, people can take initiation to become a member of a temple. They can take initiation to become a pujari, or to become to perform wedding ceremonies, or whatever they want to take initiation for. But in terms of actually going back to Godhead, the only requirement for going back to Godhead is hearing the holy name of Krishna once, the mantra, Maha Mantra once. Once that you've heard the Maha Mantra once, you're then qualified to deliver anyone in the material universe by chanting the Maha Mantra in such a way that they can hear you chant.
I truly believe that I've been initiated by Prabhupada. I read the books, I chant, I live the regular principles. I do everything I can to follow Prabhupada's lead and do what he told me.
So if it will make you happier to know this, I would agree that you're initiated by Prabhupada.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind as well, is even when you took the formal initiation, this is also Prabhupada's initiation, because even if it is done by a representative, it is still your intention was to take the initiation from Prabhupada.
And besides which, unless a person is on the same level as Prabhupada, they are prohibited from giving initiation, because their initiation will not help the disciple very much, because the guidance will be considered that they give as an initiator, and as many of them initiators, unnecessary initiators in ISKCON, their guidance is referred to by Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita as insufficient guidance. So the sufficiency is in Prabhupada's teaching. Insufficient is somebody trying to replicate Prabhupada by claiming to do something that the Shastras say clearly that he cannot do.
Okay, so one more thing is, I want to introduce another devotee who's first time joining us. Bhakta Robin Prabhu is from Germany. Prabhu, can you introduce yourself, Prabhu? I've known Bhakta Robin for many years. He's been watching our videos.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to give my comment. Dear Gopinath Prabhu, you are initiated by Srila Prabhupada. I met Sundar Gopal Prabhu myself in India. He is a Ritvik representative of the Acharya, and he also did the initiations in our Hare Krishna Community Center. But he's not initiating on his own behalf. he is only initiating on Prabhupada's behalf. So you can rest assured that you're initiated by Prabhupada.
Jai.
Thank you. Thank
Mm.
That clarification is very important, and I'm very happy that you have made it from.
Oh yeah, it was not clear there that he is a Ritvik representative. Yeah, so the intention was always for Gopinath to be taking Prabhupada's initiation.
Yes, and so is the desire of everyone that joins ISKCON and takes initiation from they innocently in good faith and are told that the ISKCON gurus are representing in Prabhupada. Therefore, they're trying to take initiation from Prabhupada through an ISKCON guru. Unfortunately, the ISKCON guru is described as having insufficient guidance. So they're being fooled, but at the same time, if they take that initiation, unless they give a vow that they're going to go to where that guru goes when the guru leaves his body, which would be disastrous in most cases, that they can read Prabhupada's books, chant Prabhupada's kirtan, take prasadam, worship the deities that are designed to be worshipped by Srila Prabhupada, and they will go back to Godhead. In spite of a person claiming to be a successor guru to Prabhupada, which they obviously can't without being on the same platform as Prabhupada.
Yes, I agree. You know, we know all of this, but unfortunately, you know,
Yes.
this is just the nasty situation that we got into in ISKCON. You know, and that has caused so many problems. You know.
Oh, no kidding. Because you can't put a fake to represent the genuine and have a genuine outcome. The great success of ISKCON, and we have to admit there is a great success there, is that they're following Prabhupada's program mostly. But
actually they're quite good. They're quite good at that, you know. But still, it has created it cannot, the damage that has been done by the whole thing, it cannot be repaired, you know. It's
it can be repaired if the people doing the initiating confess, no, we're not on the same level as Prabhupada, we're not qualified, we're prohibited by the nectar of instruction, prohibited by Rupa Goswami, who's none different than Rupa Manchari in the spiritual world. No lesser authority has said that we cannot, that if they confess that they cannot give bona fide initiation, then that is a step towards rectifying it. Right?
I agree. I totally agree. But this would have honesty as a qualification. You know, this would only be possible if the ISKCON GBC had honesty.
Oh, GBC and ISKCON does not actually exist, right? Is there an ISKCON and GBC in ISKCON? Is there a GBC in ISKCON?
Well, there's a dictatorial GBC, you know, not a voted in GBC.
Well, what makes them GBC? What authority makes them GBC?
No, yeah, I don't want to be philosophical. What I mean by GBC is like these people that are posing themselves as ISKCON gurus, you know, or as Ramachandra calls them, unnecessary GBC gurus. You know, I mean, these persons, they don't have honesty. So this would require honesty.
They're desperate. They're flailing around. It's like a man that falls off a boat without a life raft. He's flapping his arms in the water, hoping that somehow he can be saved. But they don't know what the mechanism, they don't understand the basic principle, which is to obey Prabhupada. Without obedience to Prabhupada, Prabhupada created direction, you're aware, direction of management, right?
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
Totally agree.
Direction of management says GBC must be elected by the temple presidents.
Yes.
They say they have GBC, but they don't have a GBC.
Okay.
GBC means...
Maybe we can call them ISKCON oligarchs then.
Something like that. Well, they're not even ISKCON oligarchs, because ISKCON, as Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body. So if they want to use the word ISKCON, then they have to accept Prabhupada as the Acharya.
Well, then let's call them demoniac oligarchs.
Or we could call them less, if we didn't want to be that strict with them, we could say that they are foolish imitators.
Yes. Well,
see, we don't have to be very concerned with GBC or the Kanista Adhikari initiators in this. What we need to do is to expose the situation so that the people seeking initiation will gradually, and they are doing this, the younger people are questioning, ISKCON doesn't seem quite right. So here comes the League of 10K to establish, yes, you're quite right, ISKCON isn't quite right, because they do not elect the GBC every 3 years. And right now, the GBC body appoints or designates or elects gurus, which is technically, spiritually impossible. So all we need to do is point out the king is not wearing any clothes. Everyone says how beautiful king's clothes are. Well, you have to just say the king doesn't have any clothes, he's naked. Then they say, oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Well, dear Narayan Prabhu, you're quite optimistic, you know. But the problem is most people, they're not rational, they're insane, you know. Like, let's take this Lokanath Swami case. Now in India, these people are protesting that they are like pointing out this molestation that Lokanath Swami did. And they don't even think, how can a pure devotee of God like molest a little girl, you know?
He did it decades ago.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but still, you know, if he's a pure devotee of God, you know, if he's a Diksha guru, then he wouldn't molest a girl, you know. That's what I mean, you know. It doesn't even make any sense. If you think, okay, a pure devotee, you know, he would never do this, you know. Like Prabhupada said, I never in my entire life, I forgot Krishna. That's what Prabhupada said.
Of course.
So if these foolish followers, you know, if they had any sanity, you know, then they would think, okay, a pure devotee of God, you know, he would never do this, you know. Like Prabhupada said, never in my entire life I forgot Krishna, you know. So that's what I mean, you know. It's not even sane, you know. It's insane.
Well, you know, they have to come to the realization shortly by our effort that what they're doing is misrepresenting the role of guru. We don't have to attack them. What we have to do is make statements so that when people want to take an ISKCON Kanista Adhikari initiator, they have to understand that that is prohibited by the Shastra. It's actually prohibited. Are they claiming to be pure devotees like Prabhupada?
Yes, they are claiming as pure devotees.
Well, where is the evidence?
Well, there's no evidence, you know. So many have fallen down, you know. It's ridiculous, you know.
Okay,
it's like, as you say,
it's
a king without clothing, you know. It's like an imposter, you know.
Are they claiming to be pure devotees? I mean, they should be as good as pure, but like, there's a quote from Prabhupada where he says, like, even though you may not be 100% pure, as long as you're following someone who is perfect, who is pure, then you're considered to be as good as pure. Your work is as good as pure.
Well, they receive Guru Puja and all these things, you know. Their disciples worshiping them as pure devotees, you know.
It is kind of a moot point. It is kind of a moot point because as long as they're in the position of a guru, whether it's an ordinary guru or whatever, they should be at least as good as pure if they are going to take such a role. So whether they are pure devotee 100% or whether they are following Prabhupada and becoming as good as pure that way, at least either way, there should be no criminal activity such as what you can see.
Of course.
Well, I will just narrate one history from Ronald and our history, you know, with our false guru. His name was David Bruce Hughes, you know, and he was a Prabhupada disciple who was preaching online. And some of, Ronald and I, we were just following online. So online, everything was perfect. Like he was reading from proper original books, preaching according to the philosophy. But inside the ashram, some of the people who went there, they were worshiping as a pure devotee, and they saw him like masturbating to porn, and one day later they took initiation from him, and worship him as a pure devotee, So it's I mean, this
which devotee was which guy was that?
David Bruce Hughes. He was a former Prabhupada disciple. His name was Das Anudas Das. He was from New Tel Aviv in USA.
Oh,
And he was like a fat guy, And so that's what I mean about insane disciples, like Ronald and me personally, we were just following online, we had no idea like these things were going on. But some people who like personally went to this ashram, they cheated all the other people who were following online, they knew all these things, what was going on, and still they were presenting him as a pure devotee. Same with this Lokanath Swami, these rascal disciples, they're praising him as a pure devotee, So, I mean, there's a problem of the disciples also. It's not the guru, it's also the crazy disciples.
Well, yeah, because unfortunately, they take the guru for a political and sociological advantage, and they say, okay, if the guru is doing like that, then I can practically blackmail him, and you see what I mean? I can practically blackmail him so I can build some status within the society. That is a corruption of Krishna consciousness. Clear.
Yeah. I mean, some people are just outright insane, and other people are doing it, of course, for monetary gain. Because it's the same with Jayapataka Swami. Jayapataka Swami, he's basically just a living potato. And his disciples in India, the Indian guys, they're using him as a cash cow now. Look at his state.
Of course. Yeah, no, I know that. I met Jayapataka when he was a skinny 18-year-old in San Francisco.
Well, but I know we had this discussion, but I think he and many of my friends are also saying that he's Jewish. I don't agree with you because
he's German.
No, I think he's Jewish. I'm German, but I'm also Jewish at the same time.
How can you establish that he's Jewish?
Well, I don't know. Many of my friends told me this, that he's from a Jewish family.
Yeah, there's a lot of that anti-Jewish stuff going on. But do you agree that Chayatirtha was German and not Jewish?
Well, what I heard, he was also Jewish, But
I know that you're hearing stuff that isn't true, because I knew Jayatirtha extremely well from 1973 onward. I was his roommate for years, and his mother is Muslim, Arab, and his father is German.
Okay, so I will give you the credit because you're the son of a rabbi, I also found out that I'm Jewish like last year ago. My mother never told me that my great-grandmother was Jewish, I didn't know that our family was Jewish. So I'm
only Jewish in a sense because because my mother was not Jewish. My father was from a rabbinical training, but he became a communist, atheist. But at the same time, he was like Isaiah, he was mystically inspired. And because of that, he was able to create wonderful vision of a humanity that could live in peace with one another. That's the way he saw it. And so I was raised like that, and I respected that. So he wasn't a rabbi. He was trained to be a rabbi, but he rejected it and became an artist instead in Warsaw, Poland.
Well,
yeah, I don't identify with Jewish. But people would say Bhavananda was Jewish.
Yes, I also heard that.
Yeah, but Bhavananda was Lithuanian, and the Litvaks are very anti-Semitic. The Germans put them in charge of the concentration camp because they hated Jews so much. So, and I trained up Bhavananda, unfortunately. I trained up Jaitirtha, Bhavananda, and Bhagavan. Now, Bhagavan was and is Jewish.
Okay.
That I know for a fact. So
well,
he's Jewish.
I have just one question. Okay, let's just not go into the details. You know, I think these details are not so much relevant. But I heard one Prabhupada disciple. He said, you know, he said, you know, that maybe the thing in ISKCON is because all the Jewish religion teaches that Jews are God's chosen people. Don't you think that this could have like influenced these kind of people like Bhagavan or, you know, to, you know, appoint themselves as gurus?
The real teaching of Judaism is the highest charity. The lowest level of charity is to give to those who are in need. Then the second level is to give to those who are in need anonymously. And the third level, with an organization, like you create a charitable place for food bank or something. Then the third level is to do that anonymously, so nobody knows who you are. The 8th degree is called Tikkun Olam, which means heal the world, or make the world a place in which charity is no longer required. Well, that is the basis of Karl Marx's philosophy, that he was basing it on having studied the Ramayana. And so the basic idea of Tikkun Olam is to create Daivavanashram, really, to create a world in which everyone has sufficiency and nobody has to live in poverty. So how that translates in terms of Jewish scripture, I don't know. But in terms of principle, it's there. And that's why Prabhupada said Varnashram, Daivavanashram would be spiritual communism, whereas at the same time, he did not like communism in Russia one little bit. Now, you know, Russia never had any communism. They just created a dictatorship and called it socialism, but they never even had socialism. They just created a dictatorship under Stalin.
Well, actually, there are a couple of books out now. I think they're called Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution, you know. So many of the big money Wall Street people, they were also funding the Russian communists, you know. So
well, that was business, you know.
Well, I think
Armand Hammer, the big oil magnate, he was.
I think actually many people, you know, they don't take in all religions this is a problem, you know. They care more about making money than about principles, you know.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's called material desire.
Yeah.
And everyone has material desire, right?
Well, it depends, you know. Maybe some people take it to extreme, you know. There are some people who take this to extreme, you know.
Material desire by its own identification is an extreme. Anyone who wants to take away from the mouth of a poor person something so he can eat very sumptuously is a demon.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you know. I was speaking in terms of like Shri Isopanishad, that's also saying, you know, everybody has got his quota by God, you know, and if he takes more than he's allotted, you know, then he's punishable. You know, I think this is natural, you know, but on this earth right now, on this earth right now, there are many families, you know, like there are banker families. They're definitely taking more than that, you know. They're so wealthy.
Of course. Any guy that opens a store and buys a nice house for himself while his employees can barely live and have to get food stamps, that person is the same as a multimillionaire. He's just not doing it as extreme. He's committed to material desire, and that we have to say is wrong, whether it's on a small scale or on a large scale. We have to create tikkun olam, or spiritual life, for the people. Now, Karl Marx, interestingly, Marx, Hegel, and Engels, you may know, they studied the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And that's where they got their idea for communism, was from Ramraja.
Really? I never heard this. I don't know, you know. I heard from Govinda Devi Dasi that actually a demonic race had from the lower hellish planets had come to Russia and set up this
Russia had nothing to do with communism.
Communist dictatorship.
No, China is more close to communism than Russia ever was. Russia never was. They didn't even pretend.
I don't understand what you mean. I mean, only in Russia, the communists murdered 60 million Russians, you know. That's more than Hitler.
Do you believe that they were communists, or did they just call themselves communists?
Well, I don't know what they actually were, but you know, like this dictatorship in Russia, they murdered 60 million people under the guise of communism.
Of course, yeah, definitely. But that doesn't make them communists. It just makes them people using the word communism to fool the public. You know, to give you an idea of the cheating nature of Stalin and Lenin, do you know where they were when the Winter Palace was stormed? They stormed the Winter Palace. The Bolsheviks stormed the Winter Palace in Russia.
Was this when they murdered the Tsar?
Well, before they murdered the Tsar, it led up to murdering the Tsar and his family.
Oh, okay. Right before they murdered him. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they were. Stalin and Lenin were in a cafe in Paris drinking lattes when they heard about the storming of Winter Palace. They rushed there, stood in front of the crowd, said, "We are the leaders of this." They had nothing to do with it. They were cheaters, that's all. Big cheaters.
Well, I heard that some of these people, they were even funded by Wall Street, you know, like I think this Trotsky or somebody like this, you know, they went to USA also and they came back with huge amounts of gold, you know. So
I don't know. I know
that's why I said that there's a big book about it. It's called I think it's called Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. It's by one US professor. He wrote this book. Yeah. So he did a lot of research on this, you know. So I think I think there's a lot of hidden agendas. If you go behind the scenes
and you'll go behind the Third Reich, you'll find a great deal of support from the financial people, including Henry Ford, who was very anti-Semitic. You know, he had two Ford truck factories, one in Germany and one in Paris, in France. And what happened is that during the war, they were manufacturing Ford trucks with the Ford emblem on it for use by the Third Reich. And when they had newsreels you're too young to know about this, but newsreels in the movie theaters showing how the war was progressing, they would always edit out the Ford trucks being used by the Nazis. And after the war, the German government owed a lot of money to Henry Ford for having used his copyrighted vehicles. So the German people paid Henry Ford for the vehicles that were used to fight the Allied forces. That's how corrupt it is. It's corrupt all the way to the bone.
Well, Germany had to pay a lot of money, and they're still paying it. You know, they are still a subjugated nation. You know, since the World War II. So this always happens. You know, if you lose the war, then you always have to pay.
World War I was worse. You know, the Treaty of Versailles was so unacceptable that Germany would have become bankrupt if they had continued. But the industrialists in Essen, they were secretly manufacturing airplane parts for warplanes and tanks and whatnot in their factories and keeping the parts in separate places so the inspectors for the Versailles Treaty were not aware of it. So very surprisingly, when Hitler came to power, they suddenly had all sorts of weapons that nobody knew about because of the from Essen, you know.
Well, what do you think about this statement from Hansadutta Prabhu that Hitler was a Shaktavesha avatar? I remember from my history lessons, our history teacher in school told us that Hitler had the very special eyes, like almost like a hypnotic eyes,
Yes, yes, so no, of course. He couldn't have done what he did if he wasn't empowered. So Hansadutta said, Hansadutta is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. In fact, my son almost married his eldest daughter. They were engaged to be married. So I know Hansadutta quite well, knew Hansadutta quite well. Prabhupada said Hitler was a Shaktavesh avatar. But
yes, Hansadutta said this in the memory videos.
Let's not go insane over Prabhupada saying that, because Shaktavesh avatars are not always good.
That's what Hansadutta said. He came to bring a punishment.
He came to bring about Kali Yuga in a big way. The whole Germany had the wonderful hierarchy of nobility, von this and von that and whatnot. They were all able to become there, and obediently, because they were from a very high caliber, highly educated group, they took over the whole military under Hitler, who had no status whatsoever. But he had the Shakti, and so anybody who has Shakti could be seen as a Shaktivish avatar, simply because they're born to do certain things. And Hitler was born really to destroy the nobility of Germany. He was born to destroy Germany as a functioning country in terms of the hierarchy and the qualities that they had from the Middle Ages.
Well, actually, after the World War, there were plans also to kill all Germans. This was actually after the World War II, some of the people, they were saying to do a genocide, to kill all the Germans.
I never heard that. Who was behind that?
Well, you know who,
Huh?
You know who. Even in Israel, sometimes people are still saying, like in one newspaper in Israel, they were still writing this like a couple of years ago, that they should nuke Germany. These things were definitely planned.
Well, right now, with all the anti-Semitism that is floating around the world, the Germany is one of the strongest nations in Europe in favor of supporting Israel.
Yes, I'm saying, but I'm just saying historically, I'm just speaking historically,
Sure.
that because you're saying this was sent to destroy Germany. So I said it almost happened, because after the Second World War,
I can imagine that it was discussed. I have a hard time believing it almost happened.
Well, it didn't happen, but I'm just saying historically, it might have happened almost. So yeah, definitely, this created a lot of problems, for everybody. So, but nowadays Germany has completely changed, most of the people in Germany are now foreigners, because there's a lot of immigration now going on. I think you're muted, Prabhu.
Aaron Ryan, you're muted. Yeah.
This is all just historical stuff,
Am I still muted?
No, now we can hear you.
Now we can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, the thing is that Germany was not reproducing sufficiently to maintain its economy. So they let all those Muslims in just to build up the population.
No, this is not true. They use these contraceptives. Because they promote these contraceptives.
Well, whatever reason.
If people just wouldn't use these contraceptives, then of course the population growth will be normal. But yeah, this is actually by design. I was a private security, I was working as a private security in 2015, and I met one of the police officers who talked to one of the most high-ranking police officers in Germany. When they, because in 2015, when they opened the borders, you know, then like millions of Muslims were flooding into Germany. And they were like, they were arriving at 6 a.m. in Munich, and in like few hours later, they were still emptying the stores in like Western Germany, you know, like a few hours later, they were already on a crime spree, you know. So
well, they were on a crime spree, but I imagine they were probably pretty hungry also.
No, they had more. I didn't, in 2015, I was too poor to own a smartphone, you know. I didn't even have a smartphone. And these guys had like 400, 500 bucks smartphones, you know. So they were not poor, definitely, you know. So in 2015, they, like these millions of Muslims stormed inside Germany. And then this police officer told me that he had talked to the highest ranking, one of the highest ranking officers in Germany. And they had told the government, we can close the border and stop them from storming inside. And the Merkel government said, open the borders. So this was definitely not by accident, you know. They opened the borders on purpose, you know. That's why I say it's all history, you know. Now the population of Germany is changing.
Therefore, you know? our job, our task, our mission, our Kampf is to create Dharma and Ashram, World Sankirtan, and chanting at every town and village. That will solve any problems, because when you chant Hare Krishna and get people to chant, it doesn't matter what their belief is. If they chant, they are awakening the Jiva, and that's all that matters right now. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we and they and everybody will go down the tubes, be destroyed by the advance of Kali Yuga.
Yeah, I think this is the only hope, you know, because now there's already the next immigration wave coming. Right now, there are 2.5 million Muslims. 2.5 million Muslims are immigrating to Germany from Afghanistan. They're already on the way. So,
because of Afghanistan. Yeah, that's an interesting little trick, isn't it? Biden just suddenly pulls out of Afghanistan, and all the people that were supporting the Americans are being beheaded.
Yeah, this is one clairvoyant guy. He already predicted this, that Germany will get a lot of problems because of this next mass immigration wave.
Yeah,
and I think, in my personal opinion, unless people chant Hare Krishna, this country will collapse soon.
Exactly.
In the next 10
years.
So
now we know what our job is, right? Our job is to get not just people, but what about plants and animals and trees? When you chant japas, aim your voice at the tree, at the root. That's where the jiva is. Get all the living beings. That's what Radharani is wanting in the form of Lord Chaitanya, is to bring up everyone into the mood of pure, unalloyed love of God, regardless of race, creed, politics, economics, or anything like that. Because for a guy that's rich to become poor takes no effort at all. Just one or two things goes wrong, and suddenly from the mansion, he's living in the street. You know, in California, there's so many people that I know that are living in their cars that were millionaires.
Prabhupada disciples or karmis.
Or what?
The people who are millionaires, were they Prabhupada disciples or were they like ordinary karmis?
No, just I meet them. People, I see that they're sitting in their car, they tell me their life history. No, okay. Karmis, Christians, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
No, there's no Prabhupada disciples with any money to speak of.
Okay. No, I know this is very, Lakshmi is very chanchala, very flickering, you know, so it can happen, yeah.
Yeah. But you have to remember,
I'm actually noticing, you know, that Germany after Second World War it became extremely atheistic, you know, like
not too surprising, is it?
Well, nowadays, for example, nobody is chanting here Hare Krishna, you know. All the people, their pastime is only meat eating. That's all, you know. They do this barbecue, you know, like, and that's it, you know. But they're not.
So then we know what our job is. We need
very
to.
Difficult.
We need to organize people away from ISKCON initiation and toward Prabhupada instruction. It doesn't matter, initiated or not initiated by Prabhupada, you can get a priest to initiate you. You can get a priest to make you a second initiation. You can get a priest to get you married or shroud ceremony when you die, or your baby when it's 4 months old. You can get the Anaprasana ceremony. That can be done in a temple now without any initiators, unnecessary initiators clogging the system up. And the fact that GBC must be exposed and replaced with the elected GBC. Until the GBC is elected, this movement will not go anywhere. And I live in Los Angeles. The proof that this movement will not go anywhere is very simple. Los Angeles has like 10 million people living here and only one temple. If the GBC had been elected, we would have 3,000 or 4,000 temples in Los Angeles right now, because that's how many Catholic churches there are. And after the 1992 earthquake, I did a lot of work for the Catholic Archdiocese, and I found out there's like 15,000 Catholic churches in Los Angeles. I restored a lot of them because of the earthquake, holy objects and altars, apse murals and ceiling murals and Stations of the Cross. I had to restore art. And so I did that. I had a huge crew working in a whole bunch of different churches doing that work, and they were very appreciative.
Well, I think the problem is the purity, you know. I mean, like, especially this whole guru thing, there's also big apparat, you know. So that's why the chanting is not pure, you know. That's why it has no power. That's why it's not right.
It's take into account though, if devotees hear Prabhupada chant the Maha Mantra on a tape even once, then they have been given pure Krishna consciousness.
But what is about Nam apparat? What is about one of the 10 offenses to the holy name? One of the offenses is to disobey the spiritual master. So if anybody in ISKCON has to disobey the spiritual master, because they say, you know, like conditioned souls are gurus, you know. So this is, they're chanting only on the level of Nam apparat.
Well, of course, but the actual fact is, if they hear Prabhupada, you have to take into account that ISKCON was created by Prabhupada as a platform of transcendence in an extremely degraded material world. And when you have a platform of transcendence, it's things with ordinary people in it, things are going to be disobeyed, things are going to go wrong. But in principle, as long as there is prasadam, deity worship, chanting of the Maha Mantra, kirtan, Mangal Arti, Sundar Arti, and classes, even from the mangled books they have, that is still, everything is in place. What it needs to be is not changed or removed, but purified. And that will be done when the younger people come along saying, I want to become a devotee, but I don't like the way it's going on there. And here's the League for 10K, 10,000 years, the League for our League for the 10,000 years of Golden Age of Kali. And they're putting out very clearly why there's a problem, why things are not the way I would like them to be. And when people come to the temple, they're going to have to then say to the so-called, you know, initiators, Kanistha initiators, say, you're not allowed to give initiation according to the nectar of instruction.
Do you know what Mahatma Prabhu said? I read this recently from one Gurukulu. Do you know what Mahatma Prabhu, your god brother, said?
What?
Well, he said that ISKCON will not change until all the proper disciples are dead. And I would almost agree to that. You know,
is Mahatma Prabhu a GBC guru, or do you mean Mahatma outside?
No, he is a Prabhupada disciple. This Mahatma Das, I think, who sang this Brahma Samhita song. You know, he's famous for this Brahma Samhita.
Oh, he's an old Prabhupada disciple, not the Mexican.
No.
Not Mario.
He is old Prabhupada disciple.
Oh, okay. Mahatma Das. And he said until all the Prabhupada disciples are dead.
Yeah, then ISKCON will not change.
But
even
how would they change though? Because even if all the Prabhupada disciples die, then not that they die, they leave their bodies. But even if they all leave their bodies, they will have passed it on to these Indian men who are now taking over. These these Indian men are taking positions of leadership.
I agree, you know, I that's also my personal thought, but now Narayan Prabhu has another angle, you know, he's saying like
I have another angle.
The next generation, they will actually like become like get fed up with this. I think there will
be a vote of no confidence. Yeah, like
Gregory, we had exactly the same idea.
I'm too old to wait for a next generation. I want change right now, and we're working on that. Because we can create change right now. Because the young people that are 20 to 40, between 20 and 40 years old, they are not very satisfied with what ISKCON is doing. You go into a place like where Ramachandra is in Sacramento, and there's so many, they can't even get a temple because there's too many gurus, and they can't agree on anything amongst themselves, and they're frustrated. So we're coming in and we're stating that the guru is Prabhupada, that the sampradaya ends with Prabhupada, and that he's the Yuga Acharya. Prabhupada is the Yuga Acharya. There's no need for any gurus, Ritvik or otherwise, after Prabhupada. And when you say horrific is a term which I don't like because it was created and introduced by Tamal Krishna, who shall we say, I have very mixed feelings about. He's my Vartna Pradaksha guru. He convinced me to become a devotee, but at the same time he murdered Prabhupada. So, I mean, shall I say, I have mixed feelings about it. And I overheard
about who? Tamal or what?
Tamal, yes. So I knew Tamal extremely well. He joined 6 months. He became initiated 6 months before I did in San Francisco.
Well, you know what's funny? Ronald Prabhu was the first devotee who preached online to me on the Esoteric Teaching Forum. That was this forum our false guru had.
Yeah.
No, Ramachandra. His name was Ronald at this time. Ronald. Bhakta Ronald.
Ramachandra. Do I know who he is?
He's here with us now.
Well, you know him. He is making this Zoom meeting, you know. Ramachandra. His name, when he preached to me, he was the first devotee who preached to me, like in 2009, online.
Are you sure it's the same person?
Yes, of course. That's why we know each other. We know each other since 2009.
That is amazing.
He was the first because you're saying Tamal Krishna was the guy who convinced you of Krishna consciousness. So I found this Krishna consciousness on YouTube.
Okay, so Ramachandra is your Vartna Pradaksha guru.
Yeah, no, I don't know, but he was, I think the Prabhupada disciple was my Vatma Pradaksha guru, but Ramachandra was the first, they had like an online forum. They were doing online preaching. So Ramachandra was the first devotee who preached to me on this forum. So that's why
that's wonderful. Well, then let's continue, because I would say if whatever we can accomplish in the next 2 years will be decisive for the next 9,500 years.
It's as I was going to say earlier, it's a potency problem. Like people want what was around in the 60s. They want that potency back again. And Prabhupada was very clear. All you need to get that back is to follow him. Like I was thinking this, and I wanted to say this to you actually a few days ago.
He has the potency. He has the potency. So all we need to do is accept him as our Yuga Acharya.
Follow Prabhupada, follow Prabhupada. But there was
Yeah.
something I wanted to say to you about this. There was something I
Please
wish
do.
to say to you. There's something I wish to say to you about this. That
Go ahead.
a lot of the people who are out there now at the moment, they are either following the rules and the regulative principles, but they do not follow the instructions on everything, like, not changing the books, or, they're either following the rules and regs, but they do not follow all of the instructions, or they are following his instructions very nicely, except they do not follow the instructions on the regs. So, but there's nobody out there who is seeming to do both at the same time.
It's the same as when Prabhupada was here. He initiated people and they did what they damn pleased. It's the same thing. The only difference is there's no Prabhupada to change that or correct it. But in the end, they corrected Prabhupada. They poisoned him to death.
Well, but I think there's one difference, even in the beginning of ISKCON, the devotees had so many problems, but their heart was in the right spot, Their heart was only for Prabhupada, Like really, I heard one story. This was from the Prabhupada disciple Bhaktisiddhanta Das. He's living in Vrindavan now. He's doing this.
I know him extremely well. My son was his sculpture disciple.
Exactly. So he said one devotee, he just came into Bhaktisiddhanta was sitting with his wife in like a bar or a cafe, and one devotee said, came inside and said, I have a spiritual master. He was so much like, maybe he was not perfect, but his heart was 100%, beating for Prabhupada. And he just went in there and said, I have a spiritual master. And this Bhaktisiddhanta and his wife, came with him to the temple, and they met Prabhupada. So, and I heard other stories also, like even one crazy guy, he was like preaching to one woman, and then later she became a devotee, He like wrote letters to her or something like this. She went there to where he's living, he left or something like this, and then she joined the temple, So even though they had so many problems, still their heart was beating for Prabhupada, and that's what's missing now, Even if we are not so much perfect, but if our heart is beating 100%.
Well, I know for a fact that in the ISKCON temples, like Bombay Temple, 3/4 of the devotees are grieving, wishing that something would come to change things to the proper standard that Prabhupada had presented. People are dying for that. The only people that are not helping yet is us.
Yeah, so that is my point, is that the frustration is there, that people want to go back to these things, but all they're looking for is somebody who is and it doesn't have to be someone who is like Prabhupada and who is a pure devotee. As long as we are following Prabhupada,
exactly,
then we are, as Prabhupada said, as our work will be as good as pure, or the people who are following are as good as pure.
Well, I think the most important things are the books and initiation. I think this is the two most important factors: the original books and proper initiation from Prabhupada.
I would say actually,
the initiation
means the regulative principles, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually the regulative principles in the books.
The Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya both said that if you hear the Hare Krishna mantra, and in the case of Lord Chaitanya, when he was there, and through the Sampradaya coming to Prabhupada, if you hear Prabhupada chanting the Maha Mantra, you are hearing Lord Chaitanya through Prabhupada chanting the Maha Mantra. That if you hear the Maha Mantra chanted once from the lips of a pure devotee, then you're going to go back to Godhead. So you don't need a guru. What is the guru going to give you that you don't have? So if you want to do pujari work or something, yes, you need to take initiation from a representative of the Acharya. But I don't like to use the word Ritvik because Ritvik is Tamil Krishna language. He introduced it.
Well, I agree. The officiating Acharya sounds nicer, and the word Ritvik has also been demonized. So I agree. But one question I have to you: why are you always saying you don't need a guru? Because this is a little bit misleading. I don't know if you're just unclear, but we need a guru. Our guru is Prabhupada.
Yes, we have a guru. His name is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He is the Yuga Acharya.
So
he's
what
the
you
last
what you
guru,
actually
he's
what
the last guru in the line of the cyclic succession.
so just to clarify, what you're actually meaning is you don't need like substitute unnecessary guru.
Right.
Okay.
You don't need. Why do you need? What do they do
yeah.
except slow things down, distract, and
Well,
make the movement weaker, smaller, and less intentional?
Well, that's what I mean by initiation, because the ISKCON gurus, they're also like leeches, you know, they're sucking the blood out of ISKCON in the form of money. You know?
But can you understand? That's now. But these are people who have been with them for maybe 10 years. What about people that want to join now? With our propaganda from the League for 10K, our propaganda will give them an alternative. And when they go there, they're saying, are you a Uttama Adhikari? Because the League for 10K says that if you are not an Uttama Adhikari descended from Krishna Loka, that that your guidance is insufficient. So if
Prabhu, I have been saying this since 2012.
In a couple of years, we can turn the situation around.
I've been saying this since 2012. But I have been saying the exactly same thing since 2012, but it hasn't been that successful, unfortunately. Well, I admit that, you know.
Back to Robin Prabhu, it was really nice to speak to you. I haven't spoken to you before, but perhaps we can continue. I need to go, so perhaps I can speak to you both about this again. It's nice to speak with both of you.
Yes.
Narayan.
Yes, but just take into account that there's
okay, nice to meet you, Prabhu.
I'm looking online of all the people who want me to be their friends on Facebook. They all have pictures of Prabhupada. And it's amazing. People are very much attached to Prabhupada. If we can gather these people in and say, yes, Prabhupada, they will join us in a minute.
Yeah, so let us keep this going. And Dr.
Robin, but
we can stay in touch over the coming days and weeks.
We cannot be negative.
Well, yeah, I'm not negative, you know, that I'm just continuing with saying the same thing, you know. I'm also saying Prabhupada, you know.
I am that you're not negative. I'm negative.
No, I just said, you know, I've been saying this since 2012 without much success, you know. That's why I thought you think I'm negative, you know.
Well, I've been doing this since 1968 with no success.
Yeah, so to both of you, everything happens in Krishna's time and Krishna's arrangement. So it happens in his good time.
Or we could take another point of view. Krishna will do everything in terms of our arrangement.
Yeah, we must do also. Yeah, it is both.
Not also. We must initiate. Krishna will facilitate. We can't stand around waiting for Krishna to make things better. That would be silly.
Right, but even if the people who are doing the right things, even they must still sometimes wait for Krishna because it happens in God's time. Even if you start doing the right things, still you must wait. You must wait until he, you know, moves things along. So there's some degree.
Krishna has already moved things along. He gave us Prabhupada. We decided to edit Prabhupada. I say League of 10K means unedited Prabhupada. And Prabhupada is the last Yuga Acharya for the golden age of Kali. So once we recognize that, then any other initiation is by a representative of Prabhupada, meaning temple commander. When Hansaduta, speaking of Hansaduta, was doing, you know, Prabhupada had the temple presidents doing the fire sacrifices, right? For years before he created the so-called, created the representatives of the Acharya, the Tamal called prefix, that Hansaduta didn't like doing fire sacrifices. So he was supposed to be doing it as a representative of the Acharya. He had the temple commander do it. So that's all it takes.
I totally agree, you know. This is clear, you know, but another thought I want to mention. Actually, I was pointed to this Ishtagoshti meeting by one of my friends. His name is Muktipad Das. He's a former Harikesh Swami disciple, and now he's also following Prabhupada after Harikesh fell down. And his idea is that he was saying, you know, actually the only thing that can happen is that people have kirtan, you know. He is also saying that we have a Narasimha temple here in Germany. So he's saying that this Narasimha deity is taking especially the very demoniac people, and taking them to the temple, as ISKCON devotees and trying to purify them, So I think also we will not get anywhere, it will probably take more time of purification until these ISKCON people, they will take a lot of time, until they get more purified.
We don't need to wait for them though. That's the point of potency. Potency doesn't depend on anybody else. This is my point is that it may take time to get to big levels of things if that's what Krishna wants. But even if we only have something, even if we only have something very, very small, it's still just as good, and that will be fine. And we don't require them.
My request is chant to the grass, chant to the trees, chant to the animals, day and night. And if you have time, chant to humans. But humans, for the most part, are a waste of time.
Yes, I exactly agree. I got a hate mail from my neighbors that I'm chanting Hare Krishna. They were offended by it. So at least I'm chanting also in our.
Do when I tell people about chanting Hare Krishna, I say forget the name Krishna. The Bible has so many names for God. The Quran, the Jewish text, so many names for God. Krishna. Go if you don't like the name Krishna, then go by what it means. The all-attractive source of life. Now, do you worship God? Yeah, I worship Jesus. Would you say that Jesus worshiped the all-attractive source of life? Yes. Okay. So we are chanting to the same person.
Well, the people here, they worship meat and liquor. That's it.
Well, that's because Christianity didn't get very far. Jesus was a vegetarian. He was an Essene, follower of Hillel, the Rabbi Hillel.
Okay, good night to you both.
Hare Krishna, good night, Greg.
Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. It's great hearing your voice, Prabhu, in Germany. Could I ask your name again?
Yeah, my name is Gregory Sheehan. That's fine.
Where are you from? UK? From UK?
Yeah, I was born in Ireland, but I'm in the UK at the moment.
Okay, and from Germany?
No, Irish body.
There's nobody on this line from Germany? I thought.
Oh no, Back to Robin is from Germany.
What's his name?
Back to Robin.
Robin? R-O-B-I-N?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like Robin Hood.
You're Paka devotees.
Following Prabhupada, at least, hopefully. Okay, Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Wonderful to hear you. Let's get together soon.
Speak to you soon.
Well, I'm not so Paka, I took a lot of time, to even start chanting, and all these things. But I'm following Krishna consciousness as good as possible.
All Paka means is that you have heard the Maha Mantra from the lips of a pure devotee once. That is Paka.
Well, I think I actually...
Anything else is simply fancy add-ons.
I think I first saw Prabhupada on YouTube, I was back in the days, like when Ramachandra Prabhu and we became devotees. There was still one guy on YouTube, his name is Mukunda Das, he's from UK. And he was doing this.
I know Mukunda very well.
He was doing videos like the Illuminati don't want you to know this person, and stuff like this, He was doing like Illuminati videos mixed with Prabhupada, I was like into all this conspiracy stuff, so I saw these videos. I think that's where I first saw Prabhupada on his YouTube.
Yeah, well, Mukunda went off the edge a bit.
Yeah.
All that stuff he's doing is meaningless. If he sticks with Prabhupada, which is what he used to do, that's perfect.
Yeah, but he has also some good books, like all of us should hear Prabhupada, he has written some nice books also. But I think at some point he
distributed hundreds of those.
Yeah, all of us should hear Prabhupada is really a nice book, But he became like very fanatic, you know. I also agree. Yeah.
Well, then we can say goodbye for the time being.
Okay,
Get your act together, dude.
You want to go to bed now or have some business? Okay.
Who?
No, because you you want to say goodbye.
Oh, are we still talking?
Yes.
Okay. Is Ramachandra?
He meant to Mukunda.
Huh?
No, Narayan Prabhu said goodbye to Mukunda for now.
Ah, okay.
I
I thought he wanted to say goodbye to the meeting. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh.
Dr. Robin Prabhu. You can ask the Narayan Prabhu whatever questions you have. Now it's the opportunity.
Is this Ramachandra?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, I need to talk with you privately as soon as we have a chance.
Yes, I'll call you back. Don't worry.
That sounds wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Robin Prabhu.
Okay,
Yes.
so you want to talk in private now? Do you want to end the meeting or?
Well,
No, we can continue and
Okay, for a
or
couple
we
of
can end
minutes.
it. It's up to you, Dr. Robin Prabhu. You want to continue for, I don't know, another 10-15 minutes?
Well,
Or do you want to continue next time?
15 minutes is okay, you know. We can just
Okay.
talk.
Okay,
we can talk a little bit about the old days, you know.
Old days,
there
good
are
old
no,
days.
there are no old days.
No, I mean like online preaching, you know. Ramachandra Prabhu, he is an online preaching expert. He was doing. No, it's true. You were doing online preaching already back in 2009, you know. So you stick
I
to
was,
it.
yes. I'm doing still the same thing, right?
So did I tell you the story how I finished reading the entire Srimad Bhagavatam?
No, you haven't.
That's
Please
what-
go ahead.
Okay, so it took me 10 years to read of all of Prabhupada's books, you know. I was really slow in this, you know, like first I just listened to them on YouTube, like this audio books by this Amala Bhakta, and then only after a very long time, then I started to read this first 3 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then I downloaded this Gitabase app. It's a website called www.gitabase.com, and there you can download an app for Android and iPhone that has all of Prabhupada's books for offline reading. So then in my old job, you know, I went to the toilet and I finished reading the entire Bhagavatam on the toilet, from third canto till 10th canto.
These are unchanged books.
Yeah, I think so. It's the same as in Vedabase, same Srimad Bhagavatam as in Vedabase.
Well, then maybe the changed ones, who knows?
I think there are little bit changes in the 2003 Vedabase, but it's a 1976 or something like this. In the Vedabase 2003, I think it's a 1976 Bhagavatam.
Well, 1976, 73 are unchanged.
No, I think the 76, it might have some slight minimal changes, like minimal.
Well, theoretically at least, there were no changes until Prabhupada entered Samadhi that were negative, because Prabhupada checked every reprint and checked through every book that was reprinted, and if there were changes, he told them to change it back again.
Yeah, there's some. There's an argument right now, you know, like you know this Yashodanandana. Yeah, I know you hate him, but you have.
I don't hate him. Well,
yeah, like you have a personal. Let's just put it this way: you have a personal argument, okay? But he's in a discussion. This Yashodanandana is currently in an argument, you know, like with some other devotees, you know, about this Bhagavatam, you know.
About what?
I will forward the PDF files to Ramachandra and he can send it to you. You know, it's very complicated.
Okay, that would be nice. But my argument with Yasoda is that he says that the deities in the temple are just marble, that they're no longer deities, even though Prabhupada installed them.
No, I wouldn't agree on that, you know, but.
No, I don't agree on it. So if you want to know where the conflict is, that's what it is. He also cheated me out of $1.1 million that I was going to use for reestablishing in direction of management.
But I think he's a lawyer or something like this, isn't he? I don't
Good
think
God, no. No, he's just a bum. He's not a lawyer.
Isn't he like in Canada or something?
He's in Los Angeles area, Long Beach area. He works in a legal office, but he doesn't have any legal training per se.
But I thought he's in Canada. I thought he was Canadian or something like this.
Well, he was born in Canada. So he speaks with a French accent, French Canadian accent. We used to have programs. I used to go to his programs every week or two near the temple in Los Angeles. But what I found out, what my wife at the time found out, was that his wife didn't know any of the prayers, didn't know how to cook or offer prasadam, didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, but she helped support him with her job.
Well, in according to the Vedas, the wife doesn't even have to know all these things. She just has to serve the husband. That's it. Be it true to the husband.
The Vedas, according to Prabhupada, he created women as equal to men, even gave them Brahman initiation. He did not even have her chant japa.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, if you marry, if you don't marry somebody from ISKCON, then you can.
It doesn't matter. He was married like
difficult.
3 or 4. He was married at least 3 times. Each time he had his wife supporting him so that he could preach, but he never taught her anything, even how to offer obeisances to Prabhupada. You think that's okay? I don't think that's okay.
Well, it depends on the wife, if she doesn't want to know it, I can't,
She was eager to know it. My now former wife taught her everything, taught her all the prayers, taught her how to offer prasadam, taught her everything. Okay. She was so happy and grateful. She wanted that forever, I think her husband would not teach it to her.
Many in ISKCON, many of the devotees, they were not so much good in dealing with women, like treating women respectfully and stuff like this. I think this is also a big problem in ISKCON.
That's not true. Yashodanandan, he was just a snob, and he was a cheater. He was exploiting his wife for money, but gave her nothing in terms of spiritual life.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been married. So this is sort of a difficult topic. I also heard many Prabhupada disciples, they married again in old age, like a very young woman in ISKCON and stuff like this. So I think there are many problems. I don't, want to get into it.
Yeah. Let's not get into people's personal whatever they do.
It's just
No, but the question is Yashodanandan teaching authentic Krishna consciousness? I have very strong proof that he is not.
Well, I don't have any association with him, I don't have any association with him.
Yashodanandan and I were friends from 1970s. We were close friends. So I don't have anything personally against him. My thing against him is what he preaches, which is bogus.
Well, I only know him from his email list, Sometimes he sends some quotes from Prabhupada and he never puts any of his personal opinion inside, He just copies some quotes from Prabhupada's books and he emails this out, That's how I know him. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know anything
about him. Did you know, I became friends with Paranjan for a few months back in 2010. And I've known Paranjan since 1972 in India. But what happened is with Paranjan told me that Paranjan has this 1008 website and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know it. I read it regularly. I know it, yeah.
He told me that he doesn't write it, that Yasoda writes it, and he creates the tone for Paranjan, which Paranjan says most of the time he doesn't even read it.
Well, this website is absolute crazy, you know. I mean, the content is good, like the information is good. I can't find this anybody else, but his comments are totally crazy, you know. He's also offending devotees like this Prahlad does. He never did anything. Hare Krishna community Jaipur, they're totally innocent. I went to Hare Krishna community Jaipur, and they had like ISKCON Bangalore was like attacking them because they wanted to steal some donors. You know, in India there's a lot of competition about these donors. You know, because like in one city, they're like if there are different temples, you know, then they have to compete for the business donors. You know, so ISKCON Bangalore was in a fight with them for a donor. You know, and they were telling the donors that they are bogus and stuff like this. So they like defended themselves. And since then, the Puranjana blog is attacking Hare Krishna Jaipur, you know, and they never did anything, you know. So the comments he's posting is totally crazy.
It's not Puranjan. Puranjan doesn't write that stuff. It's written by Yasoda. And he creates a language and a tone that
I don't know you.
I know this stuff. Puranjan told it to me personally. But did you know that Puranjan committed an enormous Maha Aparad against Srila Prabhupada in 1975, left the movement. He was in charge of the Spanish PDT. He left the movement, and he didn't ever communicate with Prabhupada again and he never did anything with ISKCON until 1978, after Prabhupada was gone.
Yeah, it might have happened, you know. I don't know, you know. I do
know.
There, you know. I've never met him, you know.
Well, I knew him quite well.
But I think he's also posting videos on YouTube. That's definitely not Yashodanandana's voice, you know. The videos he posts on YouTube, that's Puranjana's own voice, you know. So I don't know. All these people, they're a bit shady, you know.
He uses his own voice, but he does not write the material. Yasoda writes it.
Okay, so let's move on now. We have talked about these personalities and what they did, what happened in the past.
What I wanted to ask, can't you tell some nice Prabhupada memories, Narayana Prabhu? Can you tell some? I mean, this is all like it doesn't get us anywhere, but can you tell like some really nice?
It definitely does get us somewhere, because Yasoda and Puranjan are basically opposed to reforming ISKCON. They want to destroy ISKCON and create a new society called Hare Krishna Society. They have about 6 temples.
Well, I just wanted to move. I want to move on from Yashodanandana and Puranjana. You know, I don't want to meditate on them. But my question is, can you tell some like really inspiring or something like this memories, like how Tamal like made you a devotee or something like this? You know, how did it happen?
Oh, yeah, I had my own following. I wasn't exactly a guru, but I had a following of about 30 people, 40 people. He used to come to my house in San Francisco to hear my philosophy. And so what happened is that I was coming to the temple and talking to Tamal one evening, and I was arguing my essentially impersonalist arguments, and then he said some stuff that convinced me completely. So my brother was sitting next to me arguing the same points I was making, my younger brother, and he and he was, every time I said something, he would back it up to Tamal. When I heard Tamal, it suddenly hit me, what he's telling me is true. And so I listened, and I heard a disturbing noise on my left-hand side. I looked over, it was my brother saying exactly what I'd been saying 5 minutes before. And I looked at my brother and I said, don't you realize that what he's saying is right? and is true. And you should have seen my brother's expression. He nearly fainted because I had taken a 180-degree turn.
Well, this shows the potency, that somehow these devotees were empowered by Prabhupada. I heard this also in the Prabhupada memories,
Well, yes.
From Kirtanananda. He said that he was most empowered, like in this time, even somebody like Kirtanananda, somehow he was empowered by Prabhupada's potency, even he deviated so much later.
Yeah, so when I came to the temple, I wanted to find out what happened to my followers. And one of them had joined. It turned out to be Upendra. And he had been working for me. He was a roommate of a girlfriend of mine way back in the day. And then he came to, he would come to my philosophical things. He worked for me when I did a big project of restoring some big frescoes, removing some big frescoes from the University of California Medical Center in San Francisco. And he stopped coming to my meetings. And I wanted to find out why. Because he was like totally devoted. He was a member of the gay community back then, but nonetheless, he liked my ideas. And I checked with devotees, says, oh, he's gone down to the Krishna temple. So I walked down to the Krishna temple because where I was living was just a few blocks from where the temple was in Frederick Street. I walked down and I came in the door, and there he was with a shaved head. And he was very frightened to see me because he was afraid I'd come to drag him out of there and take him back into my own group. But I didn't. I listened to him carefully. But the thing which amazed me, listening to him and listening to Tamal and listening to the other devotees, is when they spoke, it looked to me, psychically at least, that they had another brain on top of their brain, and that brain was Prabhupada, and that they were quoting everything from Prabhupada as though Prabhupada's mind were sitting on top of their minds. And as a result, I was totally amazed. So that's
makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
So Tamal convinced me. Upendra amazed me by his having gone from being my little
good. What's going on?
Obedient, obedient citizen to.
Yeah, I don't need this kind of stuff.
And I told Upendra.
No, these things have a lot of preservatives and stuff,
So I said to Upendra, do you think that I should join Krishna consciousness? And he looked at me with fear written all over his face and said, no, you should not join. You would not like it.
Well, here, so many years later, you're still liking it.
Yeah, and he's dead. But the thing is, it's funny because he got married to a girl that joined the movement in 1969 in Los Angeles at the old temple on the Boulevard.
Sorry, you're still there now, Narayan Prabhu?
Yeah. So he married a woman and she was gay, but he married her and had, I think, 7 children with her. And then later on, he left the marriage and went off and was gay again.
Yeah, I think this was a big problem, all the gay people, like our false guru, he was also gay.
Who was that?
His name was David Bruce Hughes. He was a Prabhupada disciple initiated as Das Anudas Das, and he was a sociopath and also like homosexual, and he made a false guru scam.
He was initiated by Prabhupada?
Yes, his letters is still in the database. You can search for Das Anudas Das. It's one letter
Das
to him.
Anudas?
Das, yeah.
I might have known him.
He was from New Taliban, fat guy.
New Taliban, that's, where's that?
But he joined in New York, I think. He was a musician in New York.
Uh-huh.
Or something like this. I think this gay people, this was a lot of problem in ISKCON, you know. They tried to marry them, but by chanting Hare Krishna, you know, like you can change a gay person, you know. Like the Christians were also thinking this, you know, that they can like turn around people, but it doesn't work, you know.
Theoretically, you can. A gay person can, as soon as you give up sex, homosexual sex or regular sex, doesn't matter. If you give it up, you give it up, you know.
But I think it didn't work so well, because you said this Upendra, he married and then he became homosexual again, you know. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah,
you know?
after many years.
This was a big problem in ISKCON, you know.
Yeah, well, Kirtanananda also, but Kirtanananda never gave up being a homosexual. He was a homosexual before he joined ISKCON with Hayagriva, and then after that, he again continued to be homosexual and pedophile as well.
Well, what is your opinion about Allen Ginsberg? He was a pedophile also. He made this North American
he was
Nabla.
A pedophile? I didn't know he was a pedophile.
He made Nabla, North American Boy Love Association or something like this, you know.
I didn't know.
Ginsberg was also a heavy pedophile.
I was not good friends with Ginsberg. I met him on a few occasions. One was in Columbus, Ohio. He was friends with Hayagriva for reasons that need not be explained.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think this was it was really a crazy time, you know, like it's like nowadays the people, for example, in India nowadays, you know, if you take ISKCON Bangalore, you can't join the temple unless you have a college degree, unless they don't let anybody join the temple unless you have like a engineering degree, you know. It's like totally different than like when you join.
You know why? You know why? Because I think they're following Radhanath Swami's example. Radhanath also had a thing whereby he would initiate these people that went to IIT in Bombay, but he had to promise to their parents that they could be initiated, but they couldn't live in the temple until they got their advanced degree from IIT. So he ended up with a huge number of incredibly qualified people.
No, I think they have some, like, they are also engineers. All of them are engineers, you know, so.
And mostly IIT means engineers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, in ISKCON Bangalore, Madhu Pandit Das, he's an engineer. This Chanchalapati Das, his relative is also an engineer, you know. That's why they all, they only allow engineers. And they also don't want Western people, you know, because they think they are like what you call anti-Western, you know. They don't have any Western people in their temple, you know, because
I know, I experienced that because I went there in 2016 and I stayed at the temple. And they made it clear that they did not want any Western devotees.
Well, they said it in your face or what, you know. I heard this only. I mean, it's obvious because there is no Western devotee, but they said this into your face also, what, that you can't stay there.
No, they didn't. It was said it was said by Rathiyatradas. I was staying with Rathiyatradas in a beautiful condo that he had that's owned by the Bangalore temple. When they heard that I was staying with him in his condo, he said that I had to leave or that he would lose his condo. He was a Western devotee.
I think this Rathiyatradas is the only Westerner they like, right? I heard something like this.
Yeah. So I moved out and I had to pay to stay in the guest house.
Well, do you know what they call ISKCON ISKCON Akshaya Patra now in India? One businessman said this. Do you know this? MMT.
I don't know.
Money-minded temple. That's one businessman told this to one of our preachers. he said, "Oh, you mean MMT, money-minded temple, ISKCON Akshaya Patra, Bangalore?"
Yeah, that's the pitfall, because they got so many rich people backing the Akshaya Patra.
No, I think
after a while, that's all they wanted.
The problem is if you have these huge temples, then you need all this money, money. Then it's constantly, it's about money. They also pay a commission, Like if you're a collector in ISKCON Bangalore, then you get like a commission. Like, for example, you collect like 1 crore rupees, then you can keep like 10% or something like this, It's like a multi-level marketing or something like this nowadays. That's what I heard.
Well, not surprising, is it?
Well, but I still listen to ISKCON Bangalore's Srimad Bhagavatam class every day. It improved. Like a couple of years, it was really bad. I didn't like the vibration, but nowadays, Madhu Pandit Das, he improved. And I listen to it every day. It's a great inspiration for me. So
yeah, I had Madhu Pandit come out in 1997 for a Istagosti in Los Angeles. He was a young guy. They hadn't built any temples and he was skinny. When I went there, I was there for about a week, and then Madhu Pandit wanted to see me. I came in to see him, and he threw himself down at my feet and embraced my feet.
Well, maybe by your mercy, now he's so much successful.
He wanted me to come to India and stay in a guest house that they have in Udupi. And then he was going to have me monitored and then see if he wanted to include me.
Did you know that Akshaya Patra is bigger than ISKCON nowadays in India? They have more temples in India now than ISKCON.
Well, sure, because they're following the direction of management. They elected GBC.
Yes, and they're also following the Ritvik system, But it's also like sometimes it's a little bit unfortunate, We had in Jaipur, we have 2 Prabhupada temples, and they had like an argument, like the ISKCON Bangalore temple was attacking the other Prabhupada temple by making false claims, to steal the donors.
Why is that?
Yeah, to steal the donors, They were making false claims to the donors to steal the profits, And then I went there to the ISKCON Bangalore guy and to the temple president, and I told him, see, we're both Prabhupada. Why don't we cooperate? We are both believing in Prabhupada. I told him the ISKCON gurus are also cooperating. Why don't we cooperate? But they're very aggressive. They didn't even consider it. It's only money. Like very hard. Like I was saying, the ISKCON gurus are also cooperating. Why don't we cooperate as Prabhupada? But they didn't even consider it, So
well, but still, Akshaya Patra is technically part of the solution more than it is part of the problem.
Well, I don't know what's going on there right now, but it was in like a couple of years ago.
Prabhupada took Malachas and elevated them to be Kanistha Adhikaris by following regulated principles, by vegetarian, taking prasadam, worshiping the deity, chanting japa, reading in class, sankirtan sometimes. And because he created the Kanistha Adhikari, we have to understand that Kanistha Adhikari is a gradual process. and that even the people on Kinestadikari can be swayed by all sorts of unworthy motives. But the main thing is that getting people that were going to become cockroaches in their next life to become initiated devotees is amazing. And it must go on. We don't want to stop it. Yasoda and Paranjan want to stop it. I don't. You know, well, Paranjan.
I agree. You know, we also need to like see. You know, like the story you were telling. You know, when you came into the temple. You know, it's all personal association. You know, you see how much this personal association of the devotees influenced you. You know, and this is what we lack. You know, like we're only a couple of people. You know, like, and there are so many millions of human beings on this earth. You know. So if we want to inspire them to become devotees, they need some sort of personal association.
Yeah. And
otherwise it's impossible, you know.
There are lots of people that are reading Prabhupada's books right now. You know, there are a lot of people reading Prabhupada's books and they want to become devotees. But when we get them on the Zoom call, but when they go to see the temple, they feel that something is not quite right there.
Well, you know, exactly this happened to me.
We need to work with those people.
This happened to me, you know, when in 2009, when I found this Das Anudas preaching on YouTube, I had already like Googled ISKCON, you know, and I found out like ISKCON is a huge scam, you know. So it's like a bigger guru scam, you know. I found out about Prabhupada, like this Illuminati Prabhupada videos on YouTube. And then I like Googled ISKCON, and then I found out about this bogus gurus, you know. And then later this Prabhupada disciple, he said Prabhupada told him to leave ISKCON and like become an independent acharya, just like this Krishna Balaram Swami is claiming. He said exactly our false Ronald and my false guru said exactly the same thing like Krishna Balaram Swami is saying, that Prabhupada told him to leave ISKCON and become the next acharya.
Prabhupada never told anyone to do that.
Exactly. But these guys make up these false claims, you know. So
and Krishna Balaram Swami is trying to prove himself as being so paka that he's from a great lineage. He's from Vrindavan. He's qualified to be acharya, even that he's an Uttama Adhikari. But what he cannot demonstrate is, okay, if all those things are true and you're the next acharya, then who will be the acharya after you? Who will be the acharya after you? By that time, everybody in Vrindavan will be watching Netflix and playing video games.
I agree. This thing is ridiculous. You know, we don't need to get into it. I know all of this. I 100% agree. There is no next acharya. They all want to be number 33 in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, but we don't need any acharya because.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let me ask you a basic question.
I agree. We don't need these guys.
Acharya, if somebody becomes a charya or initiating guru or even an initiating kanista in ISKCON, what are they going to give the disciple or their initiate that their initiate does not already have? What are they going to give them?
Nothing. They're just giving people personal association. That's the point I try to mention, you know. Like people, they need some personal association, you know. Like in the beginning, you were like a Mayavadi and you just came into this temple, you know, and somehow by this vibe, you know, by this personal association.
That's the way it was in the early days of the movement in 1968 when I was in temples.
And it's the same thing nowadays, you know. It's the same thing nowadays.
Good association.
Like I found this devotees, they were on YouTube, you know, like this was very personal, you know, they had every day on YouTube, they were doing like a Bhagavatam class. They had this proper disciple, he has like a MP3 podcast about Bhagavad Gita, you know, I was downloading the MP3s. So, you know, I couldn't really understand this whole Bhagavad Gita, you know, just like by like some persons, you know, like watching these videos, you know, then I just like slowly could understand little bit more, you know. So that's what I mean, why people need this personal association. The only thing these people are doing is giving them some, like this Krishna Balaram, he has some YouTube videos, they see some guy talking, you know, like this. This neophyte sees some guy talking, and that's why they join him, you know.
Yeah.
Just because of this fact that there's some person, you know, like some physical person.
Let me ask you a question. Can't he do that without being a guru?
Of course he could do it, but this is the false ego. They're so envious, you know. They're so envious, you know. This is the problem. They're so much envious of Prabhupada that they have to be number 33. They can't be the representative of Prabhupada. They have to be the number 33 in the Bhagavad Gita. They can't just say, okay, I'm trying to sincerely follow Prabhupada, you know, Prabhupada is your guru, and you can take shelter of him, you know, I can clear your doubts, you know, answer questions from the books, stuff like this, you know.
Oh yeah, and guess what? Back in 1968, 69, 1970, there were a lot of devotees that would get letters, and they would be sitting. I had a property in Northern California that had cow program on it, and this one devotee would be there. He would receive like a dozen letters a day, and he'd write answers to them. He was no guru. He just was doing it. So it doesn't take any guru. The whole guru idea is a desperate mentality.
Well, but still, this personal association, this is very important. You know, like this Zoom meeting, you know, it's like personal. It's not impersonal. Like even if you go on some WhatsApp group, you know, many of the people, they don't want to post even a voice message. They just hide behind their keyboard. It's all very impersonal. You know, there's no, like, because if you hide behind the keyboard, you don't show your face, you don't show your nonverbal communication and all this stuff, you know, it's very impersonal actually, you know. So most people are like just hiding behind this. But if somebody is there, like this Krishna Balaram Swami, you know, who people can see him, you know, like he has some videos, like stuff like this. Only this is for the neophyte. But
then before we get into Krishna Balaram Swami, pro or con, I would say pro because he is initiated by Prabhupada, con because he's attempting to be in a successor acharya. My question is, what can he offer that is not already being offered to anyone who walks into an ISKCON temple?
Nothing. But the neophytes, they can't, like, I mean, even when I was a neophyte, I like couldn't directly understand these books, you know. I needed like some like personal, like Ronald, he was also explaining some things to me, you know, like it's very difficult, you know. That's what I mean.
That may be, of course, that's what a senior devotee is for. But why guru?
They're totally unnecessary. It's just their false ego, you know.
Exactly.
They have destroyed everything, you know, by this anartha, you know. This anartha has destroyed the entire Sankirtan movement.
They collect the false ego. They want to control the entire movement as a worldwide movement, whereas Prabhupada wanted each temple to be individually incorporated and without a worldwide movement. He wanted the worldwide movement to grow like grass, not by some big plan from a centralized planning. Because in Los Angeles, there's 10 million people and one temple. Isn't that amazing? Well, there should be 5,000 temples in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but this is all by I mean, like even all the original Prabhupada disciples, they were like kicked out of ISKCON. You know, if Bhaktadas, he was saying on one Prabhupada memories that the Prabhupada disciples had to lick the toes of the ISKCON leaders if they wanted to have like remain in ISKCON.
Because the ISKCON leaders misappropriated ISKCON, but now we can take it back. I don't want to get into a whole thing about how bad people are. There are whole reasons bad people are called bad. It's because they're bad.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, this shows their extreme, like their false ego is so strong, you know, and so hard-hearted, you know. That's what they can.
Who cares?
Yeah, because you asked me what can this Krishna Balaram Swami give, you know. It's just an anartha, you know. It's just an unwanted desire.
Nothing to give. The reason I'm asking this is if Krishna Balaram or anybody else gives diksha, what does the disciple get from the diksha that they do not already have when they walk in the door.
I guess, they need some living person there, I don't know
People
why.
want to, like, look in Sacramento. Beer Krishna recently came and gave initiation. Most of the time he was just stuck in his room. I don't know what the hell he was doing in his room, but he came, sat for 2 hours, did the final yagya and ran inside his room. So what the hell are they getting? They're getting somebody that speaks, and then he runs back to his room. That's what they get.
The point which I'm making is anything that a person needs from a guru throughout history, 5,000 years ago till now, is satisfied by hearing the Maha Mantra once. Therefore, there's nothing for a guru to give beyond the Maha Mantra. And if you want to take initiation, that can be done by an officiating acharya, or like a temple president or temple commander. In Los Angeles, we have a guy who does all the ceremonies. He does all the fire sacrifices for Shraddha ceremonies, of which there are increasing number, meaning when people die. And for Anaprasana, when they went to, baby is 4 months old and he picks the coins of the books. The wedding ceremony, which is a form of diksha.
Well, actually, I think all these things are unnecessary, This is not possible in Kali Yuga. This is just for a Hinduization, in my opinion, because in Kali Yuga, all these samskaras cannot be performed like in other yugas, Now well, people are so poor,
Come on, let's be serious. We can do what Prabhupada did.
Like the marriage, I think the only samskara that should be done is marriage and initiation. I think this is the only samskaras that should be done, because that's what Prabhupada did.
Marriage, initiation, Shraddha. Why not Shraddha when a person dies?
Well, I never heard that Prabhupada did this. What I personally do, I just cook some prasadam, I take a picture of the deceased person, and I offer the prasadam to the person, to the picture.
Well, it doesn't make much difference. It's a purification. The point is, it's a purifying ceremony that doesn't require a Diksha Guru. All the ceremonies in the temple, including being a chief pujari, do not require a Diksha Guru.
Yeah, I agree. This is like this is a part of priestcraft.
Everything that you and I and everyone else is hot under the collar about doesn't really matter, because not necessary. So if we say guru this, guru that, this guru, that guru.
My point was that people are
the wheel of a car. Like a dog.
My point was not about the gurus, I'm just saying that nowadays, now we are entering the biggest worldwide economic crisis. Now because of these lockdowns, they're destroying the entire economy, and they want, like the Klaus Schwab, he wants to usher in the Great Reset, So we are going into the Klaus Schwab is also related to the Rothschild banking family.
And because ISKCON, never mind Rothschild, because of ISKCON is taken over by these control freaks and unelected GBC, we could have prevented all of this by now. 40 years.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
We should have 50,000 temples in the world.
Yeah, I'm just saying people are getting so poor now, they can't afford all these samskaras, So that's why I'm saying it, that these samskaras in Kali Yuga, I wouldn't recommend doing it, like, because nowadays, and even now we're entering the big economic crisis, so people can't afford these samskaras, They will need this money to like stock up on food and maybe leave the big cities,
What? You don't need, how much money, what money do you need for a samskara?
Like, I don't know how much, like here in Germany, many of the Hindu priests, they take a lot of money for this rituals.
Maybe
it's like
they
a good
do,
business.
but in ISKCON, a Shraddha ceremony, they maybe give $100, $200.
Okay, like here in Germany, some priests, they demand like 800 euros. That's around $1,000 for doing like a marriage yagya, which is around 1 hour, something like this, you know.
Well, Hindus died out 5,000 years ago. The Hindu should not be a topic for anybody's conversation, because Hindu, first of all, doesn't mean anything. The term Hindu doesn't mean anything, right? Hindu means, it's an Afghanistani Muslim word, Hindu, right?
Well, I mean, I'm just using it as a stereotype, you know, like what many people are saying now, that ISKCON has become like Hinduized in USA, you know, that mostly the Indians are only there, you know. That's why I'm using this term, you know, like as a stereotype.
So let's not use the term. Let's just say Hindu does not exist. Hindu does not exist because it never did exist. The Hindu is what happened when the Mughals overtook India. They broke what was left of the Vedic system, and the proof of that is how the hell did these Iranians get into India if there were Kshatriyas and Brahmins that were powerful? So the so-called Hindus are just a castrated, burnt remnants of the Vedic culture. Hindu means the Muslims in Afghanistan don't have a S sound in their vocabulary. So they meant to say Sindhu, but they couldn't, so they called it Hindu. The Indians did not make that. The Afghanistan Muslims did. So Sindhu.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So Sindhu, they could not say, so they said Hindu. But what does Sindhu mean? It means on the other side of the Indus River, which means on the other side from Pakistan, from Afghanistan. I mean,
so, Ramachandra,
how ridiculous could that be?
Ramachandra Prabhu told me that in the LA temple, you now need to have the Bach injection. I can't say the word here because otherwise we will get shadow banned or deleted from YouTube. You know, I'm just saying Bach injection. I think everybody knows what I mean. So
yeah, that was a mandatory thing at the Los Angeles temple. Otherwise, you can't associate very closely with each other. You have to stay.
I haven't encountered that yet.
You haven't encountered, but I've heard from the grapevines who people who were there. So,
well, I'm there working
temple
on
presidents.
projects.
Yeah.
Well,
anyways,
nobody's ever mentioned it to me at all.
Of course, yeah.
There was one study from a New England Journal of Medicine. 82% of the women who were injected with this Bach injection, they lost their baby immediately. They had a miscarriage. So I think they will use, the demons will use this for reducing the world population.
Well, we already know that, but that doesn't have anything to do with us. Our job is to have the Jiva, regardless of species, hear the holy name of Krishna at least once. If we can make a movement called Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, if we can create a movement ourselves called Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, then we can chant Hare Krishna so that every Jiva hears the holy name once. So if we can do that, we can stop complaining all the time.
I agree, but I think it's sort of ridiculous that so many devotees who are supposed to know that this earth is controlled by Rakshasas, even Madhu Pandit does, they're taking, and ISKCON Bangalore, they're taking this Bach injection.
Why do I need to know this?
No, I think it's sort of strange, you know. I think it's sort of strange.
There's a lot of strange things. Turn on your TV, 99% is strange. We should not waste our time talking about strange things. Let's talk about how to get the holy name of Krishna into the sound vibrational range of plants, vegetables, insects, birds, germs in your own body, microbes in your own body. Why do we have to talk about nonsense?
Yeah, because we were talking about LA and be a Krishna Swami, and we were getting into the whole LA thing.
I know, but if all we're going to do is bitch about bad guys, then I'm out of here. I don't want to talk about bitching about bad guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's not getting us anywhere.
Let's work on what can be. Let's work. It makes us impotent, like somebody cuts our balls off. Why should we care about what's wrong? Let's care about what's right and do it.
Yes.
Let's not talk about nonsense anymore.
I agree. Yeah,
right,
I agree.
Okay.
So Ramachandra, you tell some pastime also. How many times did you read Prabhupada's books? You're even my senior devotee now. How many times?
I'm no senior, bro. Prabhupada is a senior devotee.
You preached to me first, so you're a senior to me at least.
I think we'll end it here, Prabhu. I got to lock up here in a few minutes. So, Bhakta Robin Prabhu, Narayan Prabhu, I think we'll continue this.
Hare Krishna, time to go.
Yes,
okay.
Time to go.
My obeisances to you, Prabhu, in Germany, and let's get Prabhupada's words, put them into effect. Never mind what other people are doing, or worse yet, not doing. Let's forget about that.
I pray that Lord Nrsimhadev will empower us.
Look at what Prabhupada had to do. He had to deal with it. Except for Prabhupada, there was not one disciple that wasn't a pain in the ass. So he did not complain about them. He did something about it. And look what he did. He created ISKCON, which is the Kanista Adhikari platform that could not have existed except for Prabhupada. It's a bloody miracle. So now let's purify ISKCON. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Dandavad, Jai Prabhupada.